Man these shields, boys! Remember this day, men, for it will be yours for all time.
Welcome to the night zone, hear the warriors speak. Life's the battlefield and we ain't feeling weak. From love to the game and the power we seek. Got a voice so strong, breaking every peak. Talk of love and battle scars, everything that's real. From touchdown to sermon, you know the deal. Strength in every word we begin to reveal. Truth in every tale as our lives we unveil. Talk of love and battle scars, everything that's real. From touchdown to sermon, you know the deal. Strength in every word we begin to reveal. Truth in every tale as our lives we unveil. Protect and provide, we're knights in the fray. Nothing off limits, we got something to say. Life and love, fitness and fight all day. Guys Night Podcast, let's ride the wave. Politics and prayers, ain't no subject we shun. Keep it real, keep it raw till the battle's won. Fitness tips to faith, every topic under the sun. With honor and valor, every man's battle begun. Warriors with words, swords through the air. Every point sharp and every talk fair. Knights at the round table, come and pull up a chair. Join the brotherhood, words laid bare. Protect and provide, we're knights in the fray. Nothing off limits, we got something to say. Life and love, fitness and fight all day. Guys Night Podcast, let's ride the wave. Warriors with words, swords through the air. Every point sharp and every talk fair. Knights at the round table, come and pull up a chair. Join the brotherhood, words laid bare. Protect and provide, we're knights in the fray. Nothing off limits, we got something to say. Life and love, fitness and fight all day. Guys Night Podcast, let's ride the wave. Guys Night Podcast, let's ride the wave.
We'll get this started here in a little bit. Anything that's off limits that doesn't want to come up regarding your business, anything like that, I'd like to know ahead of time. I know Austin can't mention the company that he works for without having to go through a lot. So for you guys, anything you think of?
No.
Well,
We could. That's okay.
let's not discuss that.
Good thing I'm already recording. We could use that. We could use that for a great cut later. This is kind of relaxed, like conversation, just to give you an idea on what we're starting here. Is really just an idea for guys to get around a space, be able to share information with other guys that are out there looking for it. It's not just strictly like cut and dry. I like to have laughs, have a good time as well. So feel free to cut jokes, rip on each other, whatever the case might be. Even though you guys have all pretty much just met for the first time, it usually creates some good comedy. But tonight, just want to start off and share just you guys, your stories, kind of what you've, how you've come from where you come from. Craig, I know you've got 4 gyms now, so how that journey started, we'll talk about that. Travis, same with you. I know you kind of really just hit it big, really this last couple of years, I think, is where your business kind of took off. So hearing, people want to hear how, you have a family too, right? And Craig, you have a family as well?
Yeah, I've got kids.
Yeah, so like when you're taking these leaps and, how you're setting yourself up so that there's a backfall, or are you going all out, just feel free to share whatever the case might be. And Greg, obviously you've come up and you started from some behind the 8-ball in more than one way. So Austin, I brought on the show. He's a financial advisor. I think not just from a personal standpoint, but hearing how businesses can set themselves up, whether it's 401ks for themselves, different ways they can, protect themselves as far as their money and their funds and things like that. Whatever info that you can share onto that aspect, I think will be beneficial. And anybody got any questions? Awesome. So we'll just we'll start off here in a second, and I'll just go down the line, ask you to introduce yourself. Just tell us a brief intro. What you do, and then we'll just kind of see how the conversation goes and go from there. Fair enough? Cool. Good night, everybody. Welcome to the Guys Night Podcast. I am your host, Will McEwen, and I am here with some new gentlemen joining the show. Greg, this is your second time. Welcome back.
Thank you. My name is Greg. I own Pitch Perfect Gutters out of Parma, but I serve all around Cleveland. Yeah, that's it.
Right on.
Hey, I'm Austin. I've been a financial advisor for about 14 years now.
Cool.
My name's Travils Tomlinson. I own a couple businesses. They're all real estate related. So I own a real estate brokerage, local real estate. I've been doing it for about 20 years. Own a title company, Visionland Title, and primarily investor. Like my personal activities, primarily real estate investing.
Cool.
I'm Craig. I run 4 gyms currently. I've opened 7 in the last 11 years, and so the gym world's my career, I guess.
Right on. Yeah. And then David, obviously here again. Welcome back, David.
Good to meet you guys. I'm David, retired law enforcement licensed realtor here in Ohio, and on the production desk today.
So I'm interested to see kind of, where you guys all began, and we'll just see where the conversation goes. But obviously people are always looking for other people to look up to on how to start things, whether it's starting a new business, whether it's protecting themselves. This is kind of my own little entrepreneurship as I'm trying to begin, doing something on the podcast level. And there's a lot that I've reached out to you personally for, Austin, as far as advice on things that you can, set up to protect myself. So I think a lot of people are interested to hear that on the financial advisor side. I think a lot of people too will be interested for you guys to have families on, how you took that leap of faith, what that process was like. So let's just start off with you, Craig, just because I just met you last week. You opened up a new gym and barbershop right down the road from my house, which is awesome. I think that's the total man cave of Medina right now. So talk us about, your business model, how it all started, and how you've ended up where you've been at now.
I'd say it really started, I was 14-ish, and I just started working out. I just started running. I didn't like the way I looked in the mirror. And I just knew, I was like, I believed exercise could change that. So I started and just started running, lifting weights, and just teaching myself, I guess. I did a lot of things wrong for a long time, but, I just never quit. And so just at that point in time, I just always liked being in the gym. I was always interested in gym equipment. I started collecting gym equipment when I lived at home. My parents, they gave me a spot in the basement to put stuff, and I filled it up with stuff and kept selling stuff, upgrading stuff. And I always had a home gym, joined a gym, just loved being in the gym, and that's what I wanted to do. That's where I wanted to be, and every day. But I went through criminal justice at the Career Center. I got a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. I was a felony probation officer for a couple of years. I worked at Children's Services. But through all that, I wanted to be in the gym. That's where I went before work or after work every day. And I just started jumping around different jobs. I worked for the Bearded Butchers. I worked for them for a while as a butcher, just because I was sick of probation. I was sick of working for the government. And worked for them, and that really opened my eyes more to what business is like. I got to work in an actual business and not for the government. Sure. And that was pretty cool. So I just got to a point in my life where I was like, I just need to quit this job and just start a gym. And I took a real low-paying job at Job and Family Services and opened CrossFit Worcester back in 2013. Just rented a really tiny little space for $750 a month. But that was probably the lowest point in my income career as an adult. And, when I signed that lease, I didn't have enough income to cover my bills in the lease. But I was just like, I don't have another choice. I have to do this. I'm not going to keep telling people I'm going to open a gym. I wasn't going to live the rest. I just thought, someday I'll probably be old and I'll be like, I'm never going to be like, oh, I'm glad I never tried. Right.
Fair enough.
So I
You
just
always get a job in the government again.
yeah, I wasn't out anything. That's the thing is I always had these government jobs, but they weren't worth a whole lot. Like you could, if I wanted something new, I had to sell something, to buy something.
Yeah.
I wasn't making enough money to get ahead. And so I opened CrossFit Worcester. I worked at a normal day job for a year and a half. I was coaching my classes before work, after work, little kids at home. And after a year and a half, I started making some money at the gym, and I was like, I think I can do this. So I went to a training in Ashland for my job and family services job, this super low-paying job that I had, just so I could do my business. And I remember walking into training that morning, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. I'm done. Because I was like, I'm going to waste my whole day here. I'm not going to learn anything. I'm literally just selling my soul for some money today. And so at lunch, I drove around Ashland and found a for lease sign for a commercial space, and I called it. And he called me back on my way home. And I turned around and went and looked at it. And I was like, this will work. And I told my wife at the time, I said, I'm going to quit my job and open another gym. Like, you're either with me or not. Like, I didn't even give her an option. I just said, I'm going to do this. And she didn't argue. She was like, okay.
Now, at that point, was your wife into working out as often as you were? Like, was that like, because I know there's obviously a lifestyle that goes with working out. So
yeah, she was always into fitness and working out and being healthy. Yeah.
So she enjoyed like being in the gym as well. So like, if you
Yeah.
needed help around there, like she was diving in and taking part in that process.
Yeah, she was a big part of the business, building the websites and doing things. Yeah, she was very helpful there. But yeah, so I had these two CrossFit gyms. I was coaching classes back and forth at both facilities, hiring coaches. And then one day at my Ashland gym, I had a 24-hour access key card system on my gym for my members to come in after hours if they wanted to. Mm-hmm. And a guy came in one day. He's like, I don't want to do CrossFit, but can I just use the equipment? Like, can I pay you a membership? I was like, absolutely. And from that second forward, I just started buying gym equipment because I had the room in this warehouse. And so I started advertising memberships. And like, it was this beat up old warehouse. Like, you would not want to go there, like, at all. I can't believe people actually went to this place. And people kept coming just by the hordes. And I kept buying just equipment on Facebook or Craigslist, and I would post it. I bought this new equipment today, and people loved it. And they just kept coming and coming and coming. And so that's where that all started. And I just really love the gym equipment business. Like, some people buy and sell cars and things. Like, I love the gym equipment world. Like, that's what I know. And I don't have an issue like putting my trailer on my truck and driving out of state to get something from one of my gyms. And I think the gym members really like that, because it's like, we don't wait to buy stuff. If I find something I want, I go get it.
Right.
So it's always been pretty fun.
Well, and so I got to go to this one, and I'd seen photos and stuff of your other gyms just from one of my mutual friends, and I was like, that looks like a sweet spot. I wish one was closer. And then obviously you open this one up, and I go in there, and I was, that's one of the first things you notice is like, man, nothing matches. Like, it's from all over the place.
Yep.
And I think in the back of my mind, like, you're like, oh, it's not all new equipment like every other gym. But then like, you start moving around in there, you start working out, you're like, oh, I've never seen this machine before, or oh, I've never seen this machine before. And that's one of the things, like I was telling the woman that was working at the desk with you, I don't know if that was your wife.
That's my girlfriend.
That's your girlfriend?
Yeah.
But I was telling her, I was like, I have memberships to 3 different gyms. And like, well, this day's chest day, I go to this gym because they've got the greatest equipment for that. Or I go to this one. And like, one of the first things I noticed in that gym, I was like, dude, you can work out here every day. Like, there's nothing you're missing. And if there is, I always see your Instagram and stuff where you're adding something new or random that you find at the gym. And that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and my philosophy with my gyms is very simple. Like, I just try to build a gym that I would want to work out at, because that's all I'm doing. Like, I'm just building overgrown home gyms, essentially. I just, I'm lucky enough that the members trust me to pay me, and I'm just their ambassador to buy the equipment,
Yeah.
So,
Is most of the stuff you buy from gyms that are closing down? Or
Hey, Travis, when you're just get a little bit closer to the mic. Sorry, but it won't pick up.
I got you.
yeah, most of the equipment I buy, I have a lot of friends throughout the state that buy and sell equipment. And so I'll reach out to them a lot of times. They have some resources. But I have actually bought a lot of gyms that went out of business, that they, closed and they sold all their equipment. And I've done that a couple times. I don't do that as much anymore, but I've definitely grown my gyms through doing that. I've had some really good opportunities with that. And, or people, the big gyms, I have a niche because like Planet Fitness is not going to go out and buy a piece of equipment in Pennsylvania to bring to their facility here in town, right? They have certain restrictions of stuff they can buy. And so the big businesses that have the money to do it aren't competing with me. And then I think you have a lot of smaller gyms, a lot of them, they're not their full-time job, so they're not looking to spend a lot of money on equipment. But like, I've just never had an issue. I've always thought, man, if I can go buy that equipment, I'm not afraid to work and take the equipment apart or use my back to move this stuff. I've never been afraid of that. I'm like, I'll go do it. So I just take advantage of that market where I can use the equipment and I have the ability to move it. And so I just take advantage of, what I'm able to do.
Right on. Now, obviously, when you're out on your own like this, you kind of run into your own risk, and I guess that's where I'm interested in Austin's. But like, what are some ways, as someone who's kind of taking that venture route of where they're doing all the work, they're taking all the risk? One of the things that I've always been afraid of taking that risk is I'm really good at making other people money, but I'm also using other people's money. So running, $1 million worth of inventory in dealerships, like it's not my $1 million of inventory. It's not my $25 million in inventory, depending on the size of the store. So it's a lot easier to take risk with the advertisement. It's a lot easier to take risk with comp plans and things like that. And because I've always got that fallback, right? I've always got somebody paying me. I've also got, my own 401k, my own insurance set up through the company and things like that. So what are some ways when somebody's starting out on their own that they can kind of set themselves up financially so that they're doing something for themselves along the way as they build something?
I mean, the first big thing that you want to do is business structure. Like, make sure you're behind an LLC, and as you get bigger, behind a corporation. So then when you take your money out of the business and put it in your own personal pocket, you get sued, something goes sideways. They can come take everything from the business, but they can't take what's yours. You get that separation.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you say LLC corporation, like, is there like a point to where funds, the amount you're money that you got to change the way that you distinguish on what you're filing under, or?
And it's usually, so like, first thing you'll do is LLC, because otherwise you're just a sole proprietor.
Right.
And you absorb full risk of the business. And certain types of business with real low risk, people aren't coming after you. You're not, you don't have trucks on the road that you're going to cause an accident, something like that. But LLC, you can get set up on the IRS website in like all 4 minutes.
Yeah.
As it makes more sense tax-wise, that's when you start moving up to like S Corp, C Corp, that kind of thing.
Okay.
They're the exact thresholds. It's going to differ from business to business. It's more tax liability.
Okay. And then what are some things that you're able to do on, I know you've talked about 401k. What if, like, let's say I'm an LLC, but I don't want to give up the idea of putting into a 401k every month. Mm-hmm. Maybe I've got one from a previous employer that I'm still active in. What are some things that I can do with that so that I'm still investing into that future for myself?
Yeah. And it depends the number of employees that you have. If you have a bunch of 1099 contractors, you can do what's called an owner K. So it's just a 401k for the business owner. I think the spouse can participate in that as well. If you're a smaller business and you have a few employees and you don't want the total cost of having a 401k, it has to basically be audited every 5 years to stay in the IRS's good graces.
Gotcha.
A simple plan or an SEP plan is kind of a small version as you step up to that. The 401k plan offers the maximum amount of deferral because you can do profit sharing. With simples and SEPs and a regular 401k, the matches all have to be equal percentage spread across all employees. With a 401k with profit sharing, then you can start to discriminate, and business owners, key people, you can award more money. And
based off of what they're bringing to the company, in a sense, mm-hmm. right? Like, so if I've got a general manager running 3 of my gyms in this instance, I'm going to give them bigger portion towards that towards that share,
Yeah.
profit sharing.
Or as the business owner, well, when you do your profit sharing, when you do your match, that's a deductible expense, just like anything like buying gym equipment. Get to the end of the year and you say, okay, we have this much extra profit on the books. I don't necessarily want to be paying tax on that. You can sink it all in as profit sharing to the business owner and their key people. So it usually most everything you're buying, you're taking some kind of depreciation on. It's someplace where you can stack money at the end of the year to avoid tax liability and then see appreciation.
Gotcha. And Travis, let's go into yours. Your real estate come up a couple of times as you're finding properties and things like that. Let's hear your story. Where did you start, and what are you doing now? And what that journey looked like?
So I was going to college at Baldwin Wallace, and I did a study abroad trip in Australia for 5 months. I did a semester over there. I had no idea what I wanted to get into, but I did know that I wanted to start my own business. And I met this wild, crazy dude from New Mexico who, if you hung out with him at the bar, you'd be like, I'm never taking any advice from this guy ever. And he sent me 2 books. He sent me, when I got back, he kept telling, first of all, he would like, at that point in my life, I'm like a college kid and everything, and politically I was real liberal, and he was like, his family was like totally opposite side, so he'd like harass me about that. So he sent me Bill O'Reilly, No Spin Zone, and he sent me Robert T. Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Okay. So I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and about halfway through that book, I was like, this is where I'm going with it. So after my senior year, I was broke, so I had no money. So I took a job with Wells Fargo doing debt consolidation loans. So we would call people that bought like Kirby vacuums, and then we would try to like roll in their entire mortgage with their Kirby vacuum of $1,200. I think the first loan I did,
You're really dating yourself with Kirby vacuums.
Yeah, I think
For probably 3/4 of the audience, you're gonna have to tell them what Kirby.
it's like a real high end, something that's going to last 200 years, and you're going to use it for 10.
And they come in and they throw dirt on your carpet and, and say, let me clean it up and show you how awesome this vacuum is. I always imagine like the guy opens the door, you're like, I'm not interested, and he like throws a glass full of like shit all over the floor just so he has an excuse to use his vacuum.
It was funny. The guy that was the salesman for the Kirby vacuums would come in. He was like the prototypical, you'd say used car salesman, but like, just like the cheapest shiny shoes you could find. He was a funny guy, but the first loan I did, I actually told somebody, I was like, I feel real bad about this. Like they didn't teach you, like you'd be like, what is points?
Right.
And they would be like, just tell them it's the cost of doing business. I'm like, okay, whatever. So anyway, so I did that for 3 or 4, or maybe 3 years, and flipped my first house. Well, actually, I bought my first double. Lived in half of it, rented the other half out.
So this is while you were working for Wells Fargo?
While I was working for Wells Fargo. Okay. So I was like, all right, cool. So now I don't have any living expenses as far as like,
Now, how old were you at that point in time?
22 maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like 2 years out of college, I would say. So I worked for them while I was in college. So this was my 3rd year. So I bought the double, got that part away, and ended up flipping a house, and got lucky and did like amazing on the first house. I made like 40 grand.
Nice.
And when I was that age, I was like,
yeah, I
would be like getting a paycheck for $1,300 and then have like $85 in my account. I'd be going to Geppetto's happy hours to get like to eat for the week. So got that money, put most of it in a business account, and then I just showed up. That was a Friday. I showed up on Monday, and I just quit my job. I was like, I'm done. And I was my line of thinking was, same thing you were talking about, is like I could always go back to a bank and work. Like that's not a problem. Like I just have to like go for it. So I figured if I don't make it, in a year, then it is what it is. But haven't worked for anybody since then. So been flipping houses, buying rental properties, and changing with the market. That's the trick, is being able to figure out how to make money when the market changes. So like when I started out, it was like 2007 was when I flipped my first house. And obviously everybody knows it. In 2008 was a huge market crash.
Yeah.
So that changed. It was real tough to find buyers that could get financed because the loans started really tightening up as far as who they would lend to. So we started doing turnkey rental properties to out-of-state real estate investors. So we did that probably for 4 years. did a shitload of those. I think we did like 45 properties in Maple Heights in one summer.
So tell me a little bit more about that. I'm not from the real estate side of things. So
A turnkey rental is basically like we would buy a house. Like we could buy a house in Maple Heights for like 20 grand.
Okay.
We could stick like $8,000 into it, get it up to like rent ready standards, and then sell it off to a dude from California for 45.
Gotcha.
And then we would manage that property as well. So did that for a long period of time. Then the market changed and just adapting to the market. So in 2015, I started a real estate brokerage, like trying to really start going towards like the retail side of things. And really in the last 2 years is when I really started thinking like, I don't want to just like eat what I kill for the rest of my life because you'll just never be able to retire. You'll never have really any real business. You know, you're just pretty much like just transactions. So I really started focusing on growing the brokerage and getting agents underneath us. And so we went from, I think, like 10 agents up to we're right around 40 agents right now.
So you have 40 agents selling for you right now?
Yeah, retail. So we're a little bit different. So all the experience that I had over the last 20 years as far as flipping houses and everything, I teach all our agents. So like every Wednesday at 10 a.m., I teach our agents how to flip houses, how to buy rental properties, how to analyze deals, how to wholesale property. Wholesale is basically like if Austin had a house, I get under contract, I sell that contract. You're not really selling the house, you're selling the contract. Gotcha. So I teach these people how to do this stuff, and it you know, it's just like it creates a little bit of synergy as far as that, you know. So it's like I don't make money when they buy a flip and make a profit off of it, but I get their loyalty out of it because I taught them how to do it.
Sure.
So you know that's where I'm at right now in my business. My goal is to get to 100 by the end of next year.
100 retail agents, but that they're also doing these other, side gigs, if you want to call them, side hustles on the side.
And the way I look at it is like they're going to come across a flip that they can't close on, and then they're going to send it to me.
Right.
So if you put it out there, it comes back. So that's kind of like the philosophy.
Now, how's that process worked out for you? How is it finding people in that field? I mean, from the dealership side of things, it's hard to find people that want to sell. It's hard to find managers that want to manage and hold people accountable. I can't imagine. And then something like real estate agent where you could maybe sell a house once a month, twice a month, maybe not sell a house for 2 months. And there's nothing to fall back on at that point for these people. So
yeah, so we do a lot of like new agent training.
Okay.
So people that are starting off, like, funny thing is if you find like a bartender, like they're a great agent.
Sure.
Because they're talking with people all day long. They're listening to their problems that they really don't care about. You know, maybe they are genuinely empathetic.
But for the most part, they're just having a conversation.
Yeah, exactly.
So work that tip.
Exactly. So, we try to find people with like a skill set and then teach them how to transfer that over to real estate. Mm-hmm. We call it like the 4 pillars though. So like most brokerages, they're just focused on representing buyers or representing sellers. So we teach them how to do buyers and sellers. We teach them how to wholesale. We teach them how to rent or buy rental properties, and we teach them how to flip properties. So it takes somebody that maybe just would be normally just focused on transactional retail sales, and then you give them 4 different options on how to make money. So what I always say is like it really what it comes down to, like most people think in real estate like getting the money is the hardest part. Getting the money is actually like the easiest part. Finding the deal is the hardest part.
Sure.
So you find a property, then you have like 4 different ways to make money off of it. So that's kind of our focus, is teaching people multiple ways how to make money off of just finding deals.
Right on. I want to get back to that a little bit too, because I actually had some recent opportunities brought to me and stuff like that. And when it comes to investing in real estate right now, I feel like it really depends on what the vision is for the investment, right? Like you need to know from day one if you're buying it to flip, if you're buying it to rent, if you're buying it to keep, whatever the case might be. And your acquisition process has got to be different based off all those things, right? Because ultimately, if I'm buying to rent, there's a lot more consideration as far as who am I renting to, who's my renter going to be in this type of area, how am I going to make the house look in order to get the most out of it, return, right? Versus if I'm buying it to flip, I mean, especially over the last couple of years, I've seen when the market was going crazy, you saw some pretty shysty flips. Obviously, people were doing the bare minimum in order to give something kind of a outside appearance of a gem, while the inside looked like, rotted octopus.
Yeah, so it pretty much comes down to like short-term goals and long-term goals. When I started buying rental properties, I was focused on that the book that I read, Rich Dad Poor Dad. He would like one of the chapters he was talking about like I'm gonna find a rental property. I'm gonna net 500, and then I can rent my Porsche. You can't rent a Porsche for 500 right now, but like back when he was doing it, you probably could, right? So I was like, cool, 500 at a time, it adds up. And so I was doing a lot of inner city stuff. And when you look at high returns, so let's just say you're looking at like a 15% ROI on a deal, there's a cost to that, and that's usually your time and aggravation.
Sure.
And so after doing that for 15 years, I was like, this sucks. I hate rental properties. I'm done with this. So really what it comes down to, what I tell people to do is, like, that's a long-term deal. Buy in nice neighborhoods. Don't worry about the 15% return. Take a 6, 7, 8% return, and just focus on appreciation. And you're not going to get that instant gratification off of rental properties.
Yeah.
If that's something that, like, over the course of 20 years is going to be, a great asset for you when it's paid down and that's really appreciated and everything. But if you're chasing cash flow as far on single family rental properties, it can be a drag.
Yeah, I can imagine, especially depending on the area. Because obviously, somebody that's starting out doesn't have the money to put $100,000 down on a $400,000-$500,000 house and rent that out, right? So, you're buying $100,000 house, putting 15 of all your money to get there, and then you're hoping the people that are renting that $1,500, $1,400 a month are going to stay there. They're consistent. They take care of the house.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's turnover, and every time it turns over, then you got to do a new, you got to go in there and freshen up the paint. You got to, fix all the things that they broke, so
takes all your time
that
up.
15% ends up being 3% in the end. And,
or you're hiring somebody to manage that property for you, then you're giving up 15 to 20% of your return, and you're still having to do all that stuff with you. So, I mean, it's definitely a time consuming process, I'd imagine.
Yeah, for sure. So, I sold off most of my rental portfolio, and I'm right now just focused on rebuilding that portfolio in high appreciation neighborhoods. To where I'm going to get somebody with a solid job who's going to stick around for 3 or 4 years, and I'm not going to make a bunch of money each month off of it, but over the course of 20 years, it's going to pay off.
Sounds good.
How do you balance that scale of selling off the higher return properties and to invest in the lower return, longer appreciation?
Well, when I was buying most of the rental properties that I was buying, it was like between, say, like 2008 and 2015. So, like, on the west side of Cleveland, I could go out and see 35 properties in one day and find a gem for like 25 grand. And then you could go out the next day and there'd be another 30 that you could find and look at 30 different houses that day. Like, Cleveland was like the #1 foreclosure market in the entire country. I think 44105 zip code was the #1 foreclosure market in the entire country.
That's crazy.
So you could get like really good deals back then. So, like, over the course of that time, there was equity in them to where, you can finance something, you put 20% down, finance the other 80%. And so, taking that property that, I was buying, like, I'd flip a house, use that cash to buy something for 25 grand. And then, like, I don't even have a loan on it. So when I go to sell it, 10 years later, there's enough equity in there to put down payments on some of the nicer properties.
I just didn't know, like, I understand the whole cash flow process, with the gym and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think, okay, I'm going to lose this cash flow this month, and it's only going to be this with this new property. I was like, does that mess with your head any?
Well, there's a lot of other benefits in real estate. So you get like depreciation, and somebody smarter than me, like Austin, could probably tell you more about that. So you basically depreciate a property over, I believe, 27 years is the max. Mm-hmm. 27 years. So you're making money, and the house is actually appreciating, but you're writing that off. So, say you might write off like $4 grand or $5 grand a year, so you're paying, 20, 30% on taxes. So there's a lot of other benefits with real estate other than just the cash flow. But I got a pretty cool calculator that I could probably share with you guys, where you could put in, like, let's just say it's a 2% appreciation, and you could see, like, what does it look like in 10 years? What does it look like in 20 years? And when you look at those numbers, it's real exciting.
Yeah.
When you look at it over 5 years, you're like, eh.
Yeah, right. I can imagine it's that long-term hold. It's not a quick. Everybody thinks of real estate as that quick fix when you get into rental properties and stuff like that. But anybody that I've known that makes a considerable amount of money or is doing well with their rental properties owns 20 to 30 of them.
Yeah.
And then they're taking that, if it makes a penny, it makes sense philosophy, and just multiplying it by
Yeah, I mean,
a lot more extra work.
Kiyosaki just believes he's buying Bitcoin now.
Yeah.
And he just believes in just don't worry about like when Bitcoin drops 10 grand to buy it. You just buy it now because it's going up over time.
Right.
And real estate's kind of the same way. I mean, you could get caught in a bubble. It happens. But typically in a bubble, like the financing is real sweet. So, you know, there's pros and cons to each type of market. Like back in 2010, like you couldn't hardly find money. Like that was the hardest thing back then. You could find all the deals in the world, but you couldn't hardly find money. So we're like, you know, going through and just trying to find private lenders and everything else. But when the market's high, you know, interest rates are usually cheap. You know, it's easy to find money. And that's kind of where we're at right now.
So you think that's the case right now? You think that money is going to be easy to find for the foreseeable future, or at least for the immediate future?
Like hard money lenders they're a dime a dozen. They're all over the place. It's just trying to like once you have to prove that you have experience in doing it, and then you can negotiate rates and everything. But like a hard money lender, I could probably get from multiple different hard money lenders 12% with maybe 1 or 2 points up front. And then that's like a short-term financing option. So you buy a property, fix it up with that type of lending or type of financing, and then you refinance that out. And if you do it right and you buy it right, you know, you can actually pull cash out of that. And so let's just say, for example, easy numbers, if you buy something for 50 grand and you stick 20 into it, you're into it for 70 grand. You do that on short-term financing at 12%. Let's just say it appreciates at, or it's valued at, by the time you're done with it, it's valued at 150. You can take maybe 75% of that. You might be able to pull like 20, 30 grand. That's a small deal, but 20, 30 grand and put that in your pocket. And you should reinvest that money, but I mean, you could do whatever the hell you want with it, right?
Right.
And that's, you know, it's not income, so it's not taxed at all.
Gotcha. All right, Greg, we haven't heard from you. You know, let's hear a story. You were on the show once before when we talked about, you know, battling back from addiction and things like that. So I said earlier you started behind the 8 ball, no pun intended. You've owned your business now for how long?
3 years.
3 years. Let's how did that journey start for you?
Well,
Did you grow up wanting to hang gutters?
no. I grew up. I never wanted to own a business at all. I knew nothing. I had no schooling. I didn't even graduate high school. I got kicked out because I was a discipline problem. But I did a good job at screwing my life up. And when I finally got my life somewhat together, I was working in a machine shop, and I was living paycheck to paycheck if I was lucky. Sometimes I had to borrow $20 to eat, you know, Thursday when I got paid Friday. And I got an opportunity to go work with somebody who was hanging gutters. And, you know, he was a master of it. He still is. He's a master of his trade. There was another guy there that trained me that has been hanging gutters since like 1982. So he's seen everything. And I learned a lot from those guys. And, you know, I got an opportunity. I bought a machine and bought ladders and a van and went out, and I was working pretty exclusively for one contractor, which left me no time to really, you know, do my own jobs. And, you know, this year, I'd say in the beginning of June, I parted ways with that contractor. So now I'm selling my own jobs more and trying to learn how to advertise and, you know, get my my company to grow.
So obviously, everybody here's kind of had their own story to how they began, but obviously being in the trades, would you say that kind of opens it up more for somebody who's in that trade position to create their own business, knowing that it's
absolutely
a business of labor in a sense? So if you're willing to work hard, you have that opportunity. What was getting that thing started? Obviously, you said, you know, I bought a truck, I bought this, but you know, you don't go from just working a job every day where you're getting paid X amount of dollars to just saying like, what was that point where you were like, I'm going to do this on my own, I'm going to take this risk?
It was a difficult leap of faith, like you said. You know, you taking that leap of faith is very hard. But I had the one contractor that pretty much guaranteed me work. So financially, I was a little insecure about doing it on my own. But I knew I was good at what I did, and working on my own, doing a 300 foot gutter job with 300 feet of downspout. It would take me 2 days, but at the end of it, it was worth it. I felt good about it. You know what I mean? Making somebody's house more beautiful. Like, I take pride in my work, and I feel like that goes a long way. I can't find any employees that are worth a damn that actually care about, showing up to work and not complaining, and you know what I mean? But I'm more than willing to go out there and do everything on my own still today. Even falling off, I fell off a roof July 13th, and you know what I mean? I think in 3 weeks I was back out there against my doctor's orders, but I'm dedicated to growing my company, and like these guys talking about the depreciation, and I don't know anything about that. That's some things that I'm looking at my wife, who's in school to be an accountant, to handle for me. I'm not there yet, but I still have a lot to learn.
So going out on your own, what if I guess you've had some success early, right? You got your workload full at the time being.
Oh yeah.
What are the 2 or 3 things that you've made a decision on? For instance, do you price yourself competitively in the market? How do you reach out to these people? What are you doing? Obviously word of mouth in any kind of trade field, I feel like, is big. It's like, what are some things that you did to really ramp that up for yourselves?
Word of mouth. I get a lot of customers, vouching for me and, explaining, their experience with me, and other people in the trades, they hear about me. They know the quality of work that I put out there. My prices are they're better than the competitors, I'll be honest with you, but I don't gouge people. A lot of people are out here selling gutters $3-4 more a foot, and, you might be able to get away with that, but in my head, there's right and there's wrong, and it might be a bad business move for me. But I'm okay with not gouging people, for the work I do, and my work is a lot of times it's superior to theirs too. So but if I have a customer that I give a good deal to, and they refer me to their neighbors, and that just means more work coming my way.
Now, Austin, on that side of things, he obviously new to starting this up. What are some things that other than just like a 401k to eventually invest in? What are some things that he can kind of do to protect himself, especially when he's falling off roofs?
Thank God for my wife's insurance.
So I worked roofing when I was in school in the summers. The rule was, though, always fired before you hit the ground if you fell off the roof. No, like business startup right there. One of the big things I always tell people is when you invest in the market, you're riding on the coattails of some other business owner. And that's, it's better than leaving your money in the bank. But if you're a business owner, you're always going to get a better return investing the money into your business if it can use it. If you get to the point where, I've got this cash, I don't know what to do, then looking out, doing or having investment, and don't ever hesitate to pull that money back if your business needs that inflow of capital again. As far like right now, protecting yourself, it's making sure you have your insurance, making sure you have your business liability, your bond, all that kind of stuff. It's a completely different tack. Before I forget, there was just an article in the Wall Street Journal: the fastest growing class of millionaires in the United States are tradesmen.
I believe it.
It's a dying breed that needs to be rejuvenated.
Well, we talked about, it's funny because we just had this conversation the other day, and not to get off topic too much, but trade schools, and they used to be called the JVS. Now it's called the Career Center. Yeah. You mentioned you went to the Career Center. And my daughter was just talking about going next year, and her friends there now, and oh, there's a dress code there, and but she noticed, she's like, the one thing that's different about that than high school is like the kids actually want to be there. and learn what they're doing. And worst case scenario is like you guys have all talked about while you started these businesses that were your dreams, what you actually wanted to do. You had to have another job in the meantime. And it gives these opportunity for an 18-year-old kid out of high school to have something to put money in his pocket while he's chasing maybe a different dream altogether, whether it's traveling or whether it's starting his own business or whatever the case might be. So, I mean, those trade schools are important. It's definitely a key. And I can see why more and more people are becoming the new class of millionaires running that stuff because there's just not businesses out there that do it right. You talk about price gouging and things like that. But you talk about things like right now that are happening with these hurricanes and things like that down south. Like, what would you? I mean, we were just down in West Virginia riding not too long ago. I mean, those guys were from what, Louisiana, Texas.
Yeah.
Like, without those guys there, these states are shut down. You know, what would Florida be doing right now, or North Carolina be doing right now if there wasn't, people that were in lineman work and things like that? So while there's less and less of them out there, there's more and more potential to make money.
I follow this guy on Twitter. His name's Nick Sorter, and he's in the storage business. And he's got a cool, like, he always talks about, like, everybody wants to start, like, the new high tech, like, Silicon Valley business and create something that's, like, brand new and everything. And he I think one of his businesses is called Sweaty Startup. And it's basically like, just do something that is a need that everybody needs your service, and just do it a little bit better than everybody else.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things you said that's super important is I think there's probably a lot of gutter guys that'll go in a really nice neighborhood and look at that and go, I'm going to charge these people whatever per foot, right? You go in there and you have your principal and you just charge what you charge per foot, whether or not it's, a $1 million house or if it's a $250,000 house. That's a long-term strategy. That guy is going to go, hey, tell everybody in his neighborhood what a deal he got on his gutters.
Yep.
Versus the short-term strategy is go in there and like kill it on one person.
Yeah,
and then the neighbor goes, you paid what?
Yeah, yeah. That's the guy you don't mention who did it, because you don't even talk about it when people are around there. Like,
right.
As soon as you hear someone say, "Oh, I paid $4 a foot," you're like, "I haven't gotten my gutters done anytime recently."
Well, insurance will pay up to $12 a foot, so I think that's what people scope their price on. You know what I mean? And it's different in Ohio compared to like Texas, and down south they pay a lot more a foot now. But you're right. I try to be as honest as I can as far as my pricing goes. And if I have a contractor, obviously they're throwing me the work. I got to do less work, and they get a better deal on gutters, per foot.
Sure.
So they can make theirs, but.
I'll say this: gutters are probably the most underrated
Absolutely.
aspect of a property. I've solved so many foundation problems that are like water's coming into the property just by having properly flowing gutters.
Yeah, I believe that.
And it's like it's as easy as cleaning leaves or just making sure that a seam is sealed or whatever. It's water will kill a house, absolutely kill you. So it's funny that it seems insignificant when you're looking at an entire property and like, oh, the gutters, whatever, but like they are super important.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, because a downspout backs up or something like that. Like, there's obviously a reason. You got flooding here, flooding there.
In the basement.
Yeah, for sure. And I didn't mean to cut you off, Austin. Let's get kind of back on track. So you mentioned some investments that he can do initially. Are there different types of investments you can do? So let's say, I decide I want to put some money away. I don't want to just sit in my savings account making 1%, whatever the case might be.
Yeah.
Is there places that I can take that money, put it away, and if I need it, let's say 4 months down the road, something happens with a job, I got to do it over, or I don't want to claim my insurance, or I get hurt and I got to take a month off and I need to pull out some money. Is there different ways that he can invest that money where he can take that money back out without too much penalty, or is
Yeah, there's most everything you invest in you can have back. It's only when you're starting to look at insurance product like annuity where you have money locked up for any certain period of time. The other side of that coin is the risk side of things. Throw money into the market 3 months ago and say I might need to take it out 3 months from now. I'm going to tell you, put it in a money market, put it in a CD, put it in something that's guaranteed. Not necessarily guaranteed, but has a named rate of interest associated with it. But looking back 90 days, you could have probably made 10, 11% in the market. Yeah, now that's a good time to take your money back, but it could have gone the other way and you could have lost 20%. And
You got to sit on it longer.
Right. Or throwing 10 grand in just to take 8 out when you need it doesn't really do anyone any favors.
Sure.
So it goes back to kind of what you're talking about, risk. So short term, I try and get people to avoid taking risk because short term money we don't want to take risk on. However, Travis and I, and it's probably several people at this table, have money riding on any number of our Sunday night football games. So, sometimes taking some extra risk to see what you can make. But it goes right back to what Travis was saying. I always tell people, I'll tell clients all the time, picking investments is not that difficult. You give a chimpanzee the stock page and some darts, he'll make you money. The secret is buy good stuff and wait. If you want to make a lot of money fast in the short term, I don't know anyone that's done it consistently well. You get lucky on deals, and that'll, you can do that in the stock market. You can do that in gym. You do gym equipment, on a piece of real estate. Something just happens to fall your way, but you can't let that go to your head and say, okay, I'm going to do that every time. I've got this special skill that no one else has.
Yeah, that's 100%.
I tried day trading crypto for a while, and it was like the most stressful thing in my life.
Stressful,
it was so
dude.
terrible.
So stressful.
And I was making no money.
I
only threw like $5,000 in there, and I was just playing around with it to see, and it's like,
yeah, but
it's
only
a full-time job.
Only $5,000, and then when you lose 2,500, you're like, God, I could have done a lot more.
Yeah, well, I think it was up to 10, and I waited one day, and it dropped down to like 2,500.
That's so funny because I was just talking to somebody because obviously Doge just went up, and obviously with everything going on with Elon and the crypto all took off, but Doge specifically like tripled or quadrupled or whatever the case might be. And I still had it from way back when because I bought it at like 30 cents. It went up to 75, and I was like, I'm not selling. Yeah. And then it tanked to like 7 cents. So I was like, I gotta buy more so it lowers my overall average. And then it goes up to 45, and I was like, you know what? When I get to 45, I'm gonna sell my profits. I'll let the rest ride. You know what I did? Nothing. I didn't fucking do anything. I was like, I'm just gonna let it sit there. It's already it's money. It's gone. I'm just gonna think of it as gone, and I'll just hold out. But yeah, those guys that were fucking now crypto was real big a couple years ago when this all started, right?
Yeah,
was like when you had all the civilian day traders. You're like, your buddy down the street is. You talk about Craig with the gym. My buddy owns a gym, and like he was in his back office. He wasn't on the gym floor helping people or trying to sell new memberships. He was in the back office hoping AMC was going to take off the next morning. And then it's like, shit, I just lost like a year's worth of memberships in one day because I fucked up and stayed too long or bought too high. And it's like, to the guys that do that on a daily basis, most of them, from what I can see and what I've read, they're playing with another company's money in a lot of cases, right? They're part of a hedge fund or something of that nature where they're all sharing. Is that for the most part correct? I mean, some of them are on their own, but like when they're taking those big risks, they got a lot of big wins in the background to kind of fill the jelly bean jar, I guess you'd say.
Yeah, well, I know people that day trade, and the people that day trade successfully do the boring stuff. It's not looking to get rich in a single day. They know that they're going to win 60% of the time, and they need to be consistent at it. And if they can minimize their losses in the down days, then making their normal profits in the up days. So one of the other secrets in the stock market is you make all your money in the down market. Everything tends to go up together, but when things fall, that's when you really get big separation. And if you can be in the investments that don't fall 20% when you could just fall 7%, then when everything turns around and starts going up all together again, you're not 20 feet in a hole, you're only 7 feet in a hole.
Well, it's you brought it up, and actually before we get any further, let's talk about you for a little bit. We haven't even talked about how you kind of got into this position, and obviously now you're a financial advisor, and how did that process turn out? Like, how did you decide that one day I want to tell people what to do with their millions of dollars?
Basically, I was born with the right last name.
Yes.
And I fought it like the plague forever. My dad started in 1985. I hired on in 2012, and then he retired in 2015. I worked in the power sports business after school, so in the dealership, manufacturing, race support. So, that's what I want to do. And I realized very quickly, and had other people, smart wholesalers basically tell me like, hey, you're good in sales. Go anywhere else, do anything else. You'll make 10 times the money than what you do selling motorcycles. you have to have love for that business, stay in it for your whole career. And basically it came down to, I had the realization I'd been far enough along that I'm either going to have to go out, buy a business, start a business from scratch, or my dad's been pounding down my door like, hey, I want to retire. You can take this business over. And I finally conceded to it. And in hindsight, I should have done it much, much sooner.
Yeah.
But that's what both my parents did. When you're 22 years old, I'm not doing what those old people do.
Well, you still get to sell motorcycle parts. I think over the last month, I've bought a few new tires, a few new this, a few new that. Every time I see you, you're like, hey, you should look at this. You should look at this. And then next thing I know, my Amazon or whatever cart is filled with all kinds of accessories. I'm like, so you still got that niche of selling motorcycle parts. You still get to do it. What was that like? I mean, obviously, you studied young relatively when your dad was kind of talking about getting you into the business and things like that. What was it about the business of that kind of chased you away, that kept you from wanting to join it sooner?
Oh, just because it was what my parents did.
It just didn't want to do what they were doing.
Just being stubborn and an idiot.
Resisting authority kind of almost.
Yeah.
The wisdom of youth.
Yeah, I don't want the easy way out, damn it. So what I mean, on a daily basis, what does your job kind of entail for what you do? I mean, obviously heard you talk about a lot of different things tonight, but what time does your day start? What does it begin with? What are you always doing to kind of stay on top of that game?
Mm-hmm. My business is a little bit different because it's going to be 40 years old next year. So we have a lot of multiple generations. We are looking for new business, but it's not a significant priority. Any new client I take on now, I'm selling one of my other clients' time with me. So it's a balance. Because it is an old practice, we have clients that pass away, so we do lose asset that way. So looking to not grow necessarily there, but maintain stable. Good investing in the market will grow our business just as it grows people's retirements. I side by side, tied at the hip there.
Sure.
Market hours, this is one of the big benefits. Market hours is 9:30 to 4, so pretty much 9:30 to 4.
Yeah.
Banker's hours, banker's hands now.
Sure, there's certain parts of your body that appreciate the banker's hands.
But working with clients, down markets are always the most difficult time because you're not necessarily talking people out of the window ledge, but that's when people need support to, left on their own, they're going to sell out and make the exact wrong decisions. Everyone wants to buy high when it feels good and sell low when it's scary.
Well, going back to that, it's kind of it's tough being on the other end as the consumer, right? Or in your part, the portfolio, because that the best thing there is to do is wait. Mm-hmm. There's really nothing else you can do. Money's lost, that's lost. You're not going to just get it back by just saying you want out right now. You're just going to maybe stop the immediate losses, but then you're also not going to be there on the rebound. And sometimes you have an idea how long that might be. Sometimes you don't. So I imagine, regardless, especially the person who's got $20,000 invested versus $4 or $5 million invested or $10 million invested is probably different to, it's for you. I know where I would think to spend my time would be with the more money, but obviously that's not probably where they understand their money a little bit differently, I would assume, than the guy who, when he loses 10%, he's losing $4,000 of his 40 versus the guy who's losing 10% of $4 million. He's losing 400, but he doesn't look at it as the same.
It's the longer the investor is in the market, generally they have the most money, but they're also the most jaded. They've been through that market cycle. They know how the movie ends. There's no point thrashing around trying to make changes when the market's down. Just sit and wait. It'll make a new high.
Do you think it's the 80-20 rule? 20%, the 80% of people that have the most amount of money in there, you spend most of your time calming people down that are the 20% that are on the lower end?
And it's not necessarily the lower end. It's the newer investor. So I have people that are new and starting with small dollars.
Well, here, my wife, when her mom passed away, I think 2 years ago, right? And left her some money. It wasn't a whole lot, but she had never given money before. So she invested. And obviously the market kind of took a little dip. I think was that last year. I want to say it was
2022 when interest rates were flying up.
right, and it was like a 4 or 5 month window where all of a sudden the money that you put in the year before is halfway or 20% gone or whatever. And for her, it was her first experience. So every day she's asking me, "Hey, can you call Austin?" There's nothing you can do. You just gotta wait. Like, just gotta wait. And now, obviously, we're on the upside of that. Especially with the election just taking place, and like, oh, see, it was worth waiting. Should have put more in there back then, actually. But she was the new investor versus the guy who's had money invested through 2008. They've seen some of those. I imagine they're just like, we just got to ride it out. Like, not, and that's probably what hurts that market even a little bit more, because those are the kind of people that are like, just sit on your money, don't spend it right now, just wait it out. And that kind of, I think, for businesses specifically, like when people are holding money, like makes things tougher for every market essentially.
And so when you're saving for retirement, it's long term. Investing when you're a business, it's different because you need to have that liquidity all the time until you have so much cash that, like, I don't even know what to do with. Even with this, $200,000 that I just keep to be safe operating cash.
Sure.
And the process that I have with business owners and their business cash is completely different from the retirement money. Because the retirement money, we have a defined finish line. You get penalized if you take it before 59 and a half. So depending on how old or young you are, I know exactly how long it's got to sit there. I mean, unless shit hits the wall and we have to take money out, get penalized to, healthcare, my house burnt down, something like that. But business money, business opportunities, business disasters happen every single day. Life comes at you fast. Some of that cash needs to be ready and available. It definitely needs to be in something secure. You can't be, hopefully Bitcoin triples in the next 3 days and I have enough money to make my rent payment.
Right.
Not great business.
Now, something you guys have all talked about is taking advantage when the market's down, whether it's investing, whether it's real estate and you're buying or selling. And especially for you, when people with real estate's good, I'm assuming business is better for you too, Greg. What led, Craig, go back to you. What led to you finally, we talked about the gym you just opened up here in Medina. And feel free to mention the names of your gyms, the businesses you guys share it out there so people hear about it, they can take advantage of it. But what led you to venturing out this way to Medina?
Well, I own the warehouse gyms in Worcester, Ashland, Mansfield, Ontario area, and then here in Medina. Well, I really never intended to own more than one gym.
4 gyms later.
Yeah. My Ontario gym I opened a year ago. I had just had an opportunity to buy a gym that was going to close. And I told the person selling it that I would buy their equipment as long as the landlord agreed to let me sign a lease, so I wouldn't have to move it. I could just redo the building and do what I wanted to with the equipment. So that was just an opportunity that popped up. Took it, super low risk. If it doesn't work, didn't buy the building. I can just bail and sell the equipment for pretty much what I paid for it.
Right.
And then Medina kind of happened. I've had people over the years, there's a lot of people that live up here. And so everyone's like, Medina, open Medina. And I'm like, it costs a lot of money. Like, I've done pretty well with the gyms, but I'm not like, oh, let's just go all in and try to open a gym in Medina and when everything's going to cost more, But I was contacted I bought my Worcester facility from a guy that owned a business there. And I bought the building from him. It wasn't on the market. And he kind of kept following me over the years, couple years. And he ended up contacting me and said, hey, do you want to open a gym in Medina? We have a building that we're trying to buy. We'll let you in on purchasing the building with us if you let us in on the business end of it with the gym. I was like, well, yeah, that sounds good, because the people that were wanting to partner with me were very successful in business otherwise.
Okay.
They just don't know anything about the gym world.
But they were buying that property thinking like this would be a great place to put a gym, or they needed a reason to put it somewhere just because the property became available to them.
they predict that the city, I guess, is developing to the south.
100%.
And so they're like, we want to buy, they invest in property.
Okay.
So they're like, we want to buy this property because it's going to be worth a lot. And they were going to turn it into storage.
Okay.
But the township, the city said, no.
There's enough of that.
There's no storage. You're not doing storage. So they reached out to me and said, hey, do you want to open a gym? And I was like, as soon as I saw the facility, I was like, yeah, it's going to take a lot of work, but the actual bones of the facility are perfect. Everything was just perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously we had to put showers in, and they redid a ton of stuff and a lot of tearing ceilings down and walls down, but like it really turned out perfect for what we're doing.
Yeah, I like the look. What led to adding the barbershop to it? Because to me, that was like the cat's meow. I mean, obviously my wife's a barber, so her working there was one benefit. But for me, I was like, dude, a barbershop that opens at 7 a.m. I could be done with my workout 7:30, take a shower or whatever right after I get a haircut. Like that to me was a win.
I'm not 100% sure how the barbershop came to be. I do know that one of my business partners is related to the
owner
main
of it.
barber,
Okay.
the main guy that runs that barbershop. I don't know if that idea came before or after we were looking at buying the building.
Gotcha.
But it was kind of, as soon as we bought it, it was like, oh yeah, we're going to put the barbershop in here. So that's all I know really about that. I own a portion of the building, the property.
Sure.
I have ownership in that. It's a smaller portion. And so I really don't, it doesn't, you know.
So what I mean, at that point, the owners of the property or the majority owners
Yeah.
they're leasing out parts of that building. I know you guys
Yes.
are partnered up with, I think what PH Performance is going to be going out on the other side there as well.
It just worked out really well that we even found them. I found them through we made an Instagram post, said, hey, is anyone in the medical world or gym world want to rent these little rooms here? They reached out and started talking to me and came and looked at it. And they're like, yeah, we're interested. And so I pawned them off to the other, my partners. So I
made the connection.
Gym. Yeah,
that's it though.
Yeah.
What is that pH? You said pH Performance?
Yeah.
What is that, like a recovery thing or?
No, so and you could probably spread a little bit, but I don't know if you guys listen to guys out there like Gary Brecka, or if you I can't remember what the gentleman's name is, but he's been on Rogan a lot and a lot of other podcasts. He runs the company called Ways to Well, but essentially, you think of performance in a gym, you're like, my wife right away, she's like, testosterone, you're gonna fucking TRT. That's portions of it. But so when you go to a doctor's office, insurance companies don't allow those doctors to run full panel blood tests. The benefit that it is that with a full panel blood test, if that's done, you could actually predict diabetes as early as 10 years in advance. They can detect all kinds of deficiencies and stuff into your body and can see the future essentially of where your health is tracking towards. But insurance companies obviously don't want that. They won't pay for that. Doctor's office. So Ways to Well is a similar company. They started that off and it's private healthcare. Essentially, you pay for this blood panel to be done and then they walk you through it. So PH Performance is similar to that. You can either have a blood panel done. They can talk to you about your testosterone levels. They're actual doctors. They're not just like a little hot by hot nutrition place or anything like that. And they can start to develop, and what you're deficient in, things like that, and also give you a plan. And you can add to that, Craig. I'm sure there's more to it that you're familiar with.
I should just note that I'm also co-owner in Vanguard Genetics.
Okay.
Which is also a hormone therapy company. But PH Performance does do the same thing. They're just renting space in our gym.
Sure.
And I'm supporting them as well. There's enough guys out there that need hormone therapy.
Yeah, of course.
But the two ladies that own PH Performance are both PAs. But they really kind of do a holistic type of treatment where it's a lot of movement, healthy eating, physical therapy, lots of new treatments. I think they do some IV therapy stuff. But they're really cool because they're like, we recommend every single client get a gym membership. Like they have to move.
It's a good person to have in your office.
Yeah. So, and they do physical therapy and train people in the gym too. So it just really is a perfect fit.
So, obviously everybody here sitting at the table is how many of you guys are working out every day or a couple days a week, just out of curiosity?
I do like 4 days a week.
4 days a week, Austin?
I like to think about working out every day.
What about you, Greg?
Yeah, my wrist prevents me from doing it right now, but I don't know. I'm having a surgery December 5th, and I'll be back to working out. When I did work out, it was 4 days a week.
4 days a week. I only bring that up just because I think that a lot of business success is derived from the good habits that are created in the gym. And that's why I bring that up. Because, now that you've got 4 gyms, you kind of get a baseline of, what time are people out there working out? Like, when do you see your first people in your gym in the morning?
Usually in the 4 o'clock hour.
Yeah, so they're already getting their grind on, ready to get the day started, getting their blood flowing. And then how late are you seeing them there till? I know you got 24-hour access to all your gyms, so you're probably seeing them there 24 hours a day. But
yeah, my gym in Ashland I've had for 8 years, and it's very rare to find the parking lot empty, even at 2 in the morning. I've seen upwards of 20 cars in the parking lot at midnight on a Friday. There's a lot of people there, and a lot of our members, they actually show up. I don't know. It's just the people we attract. They're like, hey, this is a real gym, And so I think we have a higher percentage of our members actually coming to the gym.
it definitely demands, like, you got to find your gym nemesis. Like, I've heard somebody talk about, like, your gym nemesis, like, oh, that guy lifted more than me. I'm going to have to come an extra day during the week now, and I know what time to show up. But your gyms definitely create kind of a competitive environment, but they also let you kind of, how do I word this? Like, you got the powerlifting room, like, you know what you're going in there to do. That's a no nonsense room. I like the way that you kind of separated it from the rest of the gym, because obviously you have people in there that are just trying to get in their daily workout, whether it's running on the ellipticals or whatever the case might be, and it kind of splits what happens in those 2 different rooms to 2 different people, but allows them to be under the same roof, so to sense. Is that kind of what your mission was behind that, or what?
Yeah.
Is that where you kind of?
So I guess over the years of having gyms, because this is the 7th gym I've opened. I've sold 3 of them. I have 4 now. I've learned that your gym, whether it's a CrossFit gym or a 24-hour gym, the community is really everything, because anyone will quit a gym. The equipment's whatever. A lot of people are particular about it, but they won't quit a community, and they won't quit friendships. They won't quit relationships they have with people that are around. So all my gyms, I have a pool table at my gym in Ontario. I have a ping pong table and a foosball table at my gym in Worcester. And in Medina, I plan to put like a video game system up on one of the TVs and create a place where people can hang out. And so I try to build a community. I build a place where people can come and hang out. And in my gyms, every gym I open is a little bit more, looks like a club. We put like 700 feet of those LED rope lights in this new gym. But when you walk in, you're like, whoa, this is like an arcade. I go to gyms and I'm just like, this is what I would change with this gym. And I go to gyms a lot of times and it's like, am I in like a hospital or like a retirement home? Like, what is this?
Right.
It looks so, I don't know. It's just like, this is boring. So I started traveling around and more gyms. I was like, okay, this gym's got some graffiti. That's kind of cool. This gym's painted everything black. That's like, why don't I do that with mine? And so I think people enjoy that because they walk in and they're like, whoa, this isn't normal.
Yeah.
I love that. So all the equipment's different colored, like got turf in the middle of the gym. Like it looks like a fun place.
Yeah.
And that's what why does it have to be boring?
Well, and it's funny because you mentioned the lighting, you mentioned the neon lights, and like people are probably thinking of like, like as they're going in there. But when you're in there, it's like, you ever see those like short motivational videos or whatever, where it's like kind of like dark all around, but the guy's working out and it's got like this like a spotlight kind of slowly over. Like that's the mood in that whole gym. Yeah. Like the lighting is like to this, it's awesome. Like spot, like you definitely feel like that you're in a warehouse gym. You know what I mean?
And I just paid attention to our crowd. Like for whatever, we have some older people that go to the gym, but most of our people are 18 to 35.
Yeah.
That's the majority of our people. And they all love to post pictures and videos and stuff. And it's awesome. It's that's so cool that they're doing something positive in their life, and I just create a place that's like, hey, this whole gym is a sweet background for your video. Yeah. Like I put a posing room in every gym. There's a place in front of a mirror with lighting. It's like, this is your spot, man. Take some updates and progress pics,
Yeah, to my buddy Nick out there, that means you do not have to walk around the gym in your show-off thong anymore. Stay in the posing room.
That's really smart. Like the era of social media, build a gym around that.
Yeah.
You need to start the how that dude does bar rescue. You need to do gym rescue.
I've always thought about that. Like I'm actually going to see a gym in a week or two. I'd have to look at my schedule. Just going to see a local gym that's like, hey, we want to grow our membership. And I was like, well, let me kind of see it. Let me just see what's going on here first. But I love that type of thing. Like I love talking to other gym owners. Like I don't feel like I'm in competition with anybody. It's like I just focus on what I want to do.
Sure.
Like there's other gyms around that do things better than I do. But it's like I'm not trying to do that.
I'm not trying to be them.
Like you can do that. That's awesome. Keep doing that. I'm gonna keep doing what I do. And there's enough like I'm not trying to get anyone else's gym members, because I've opened the gym and people have mentioned other gyms in town. I've been to all the other gyms in town, and I think they're all good gyms.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to take any members from those gyms. I'm like, hey, I'm going to put a gym here that catches people's attention that have never been to a gym before.
Yeah.
That's who I'm going for, because there's a whole lot more people that don't have gym memberships than do.
Sure.
So I'm not fighting over them. That's
Well, and
small.
the other thing you do too is you allow your gym members to go to any of the gyms. And
Yeah.
you talk about community. I think that's huge because if you got a buddy that's in Worcester, let's say, or even Ashland, you got you've got friends that go to Ashland school, college, and they live here in Medina. So when they're home for the holidays, you guys get to all meet up at the Medina gym, even if one's from Worcester, one's from here, whatever the case. But when you talk about community, I think that really opens up community is when you put those all gyms, they're all 20, 30 minutes apart. Hey, come to mine for a minute. Check out this gym or check out this warehouse.
Well, I literally every May, because I've picked up on the college kids, every May I literally post stuff about the gym, and I said, don't have FOMO this summer. Like everyone's here.
Yeah, right.
And it's just funny because it's cool because I coached the Ashland High School football team. I did their strength and conditioning for a couple years.
Okay.
And it's awesome because those guys they're in college, but every summer I get to see them.
Yeah,
like,
for
it's
sure.
just cool to see them go from like a freshman in high school to like, wow, we got a man now.
Yeah.
It's just really awesome that I have that benefit of seeing these guys, these young men, like
Grow up and
turn into a man, and they're just coming back to the gym every summer.
Well, especially too, the longer that they're going. I mean, it's pretty cool to see like a 16-year-old. First of all, you see 16, 17-year-old kids in the gym at 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night. And there's so many other things that I was doing at 16 years old. Like, yeah, I worked out with the football team and stuff, but I wish I would have got like to the gym every night. And they're in there with their 5 or 6 buddies.
Yeah.
So you see them 4 or 5 years down the road. Like you have a role as a business is creating men that are going to be the leaders in this country in the sense of like, how important is physical fitness and being a 20 to 25-year-old man. And not only that, but staying out of trouble or finding other guys that are like you, that are going to grow with you or that are going to be around you down, in the future. So, I can see where that community aspect really, really wins.
I have 4 gym memberships, and about 6 months ago, so the gym that I go to most of the time is called Pro Sports Performance in Strongsville. And it's like it's not a CrossFit affiliate or anything, but it's like squats. Monday is like basically leg day essentially.
Right.
Tuesdays pretty much like HIIT training. Wednesdays like chest and triceps. Thursday is like super intense HIIT training. Like you're gonna throw up if you've never been there before. Like it's rough. Fridays like shoulders, whatever. And I just felt like kind of like all my joints are sore. Like I just felt beat up, Like I'm gonna just go do like muscle groups, like the old school, just like bodybuilding training. And I would go 5 days one week. Next week I'd go 1. And I just went back there about 3 weeks ago because I'm like, you know what? The reason why I went to the gym is because I saw the people that I enjoy working out with. Because it's like when you go there, it's like you can either go at 5:30 a.m. or you can go 8 a.m. or 9:30. But the same people are going in those different groups.
Yeah.
And it's not like they're calling you saying like, hey, are you going to the gym today or anything? But like, all right, I'll go because I don't want to hear any of their shit tomorrow. Why would you hear
right.
it? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's like that extra little bit of motivation. And there's a lot of times where I'll wake up and I'll be like, fuck it, I'm not going, And then like, all right, I'll go. Like,
Yeah. Well, the other thing is too, like, and I've been working out in the morning for probably going on the last 12, 13 years. And it was actually my divorce that got me back in the gym, right? Like, You guys, all right, I'm 31. If I'm gonna battle with these like 25 or 26-year-olds out there, I better do something about it. And I used to lift really heavy, like when I was in the military and stuff like that. But like, so now if I don't go to the gym in the morning, like my day's wrecked. I don't do anything to my peak performance. Like I don't care if it's like the first task I have to do for work, if I'm traveling and I'm visiting clients, like my day is wrecked if I don't start out that
It's
day.
funny
in the
how
gym.
like you'll feel lazy.
Yeah.
Like you go to the gym and do a bunch of work and you have more energy.
So much more
You
energy.
sit or you don't get you sleep in. You know you don't go to the gym and you're just lazy all day.
It comes off too. I think it comes off in your personality when you're talking to people, like in the morning, especially. Like if you didn't get that workout in the morning, you're just like, I'm trying to think of what that cartoon was when they're walking past each other every morning and they're like, "Hey, Carl," and it's like you're just like you need that something, and whether it's first thing in the morning or it's the last thing you do, it changes the way that day processes for sure. And yeah, you can go twice a day. You can go in the morning. You can go at 7 o'clock at night. It's amazing how much energy you can find in the gym at 7 o'clock at night after a long work day. But it's awesome that you're building a community. And I know people in this. I've been a member of the same gym for 12 years. I opened up or signed up. I remember like 2 weeks before they opened when they were building it. And gyms talk about we're losing members. I don't think they lose their members. I don't think they adapt to their members. And what happens is, what made you great when you first might have opened up and gained you all the clients, like you lose faith of that. My gym, like it used to be like 5 o'clock on any day of the week you went in there and there was 50 dudes in there. You were all competing for the bench. You all wanted the squat rack or the deadlift next to you. You all wanted to outdo the next guy next to you because it was just that energy that was in there. And it came to the point where it was like every day was like a CrossFit. Actually, I wouldn't even shame CrossFit to this. I would say it was more like an aerobics class of 60-year-old women. And that was all that was going in and out of there. And they're like, what the hell is happening around you? Like the whole atmosphere of this place just changed. And then sure enough, like somebody in town opens up somebody that fits your personality or fits what you're looking for. And you're like, hey, I'm leaving. Like I've been a loyal member for 12 years. You haven't been loyal to me, I think is how people look at memberships to anything really.
I think the most common, because I've bought probably close to 10 gyms that have went out of business over the years. And the number one thing that I see, and I get it, the gym was going out of business or whatnot, but most of the time they're not very clean. And their equipment's usually torn up, beat up.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that. I go to one of the gyms that I belong to. I just call it a meathead gym. Like it's just like there's no frills. It's just like weights and machines and everything else. And like one thing I noticed is like pins, just like pins for, they're missing. You can't find one. Like shit like that is just broken, and it's like that probably costs $10 on Amazon or whatever.
Why aren't you taking care of
Yeah,
it? Right. Yeah. And that's business in general, right? Like I'm sure if you stop taking care of the people that are working for your company for a couple of weeks at a time, they'd start leaving.
Yeah, or you don't fix somebody's toilet that's clogged up and then they want to move out.
I always tell people that I follow the broken windows theory. If you ever see if you ever walk through a city and you see a building with a bunch of broken windows, it wouldn't take a whole lot for you to pick up a rock and throw one through the next one, right? But if you see a building and all the windows are solid, you're probably not going to throw a rock through one. So if you take care of your gym like that to where, there's some vinyl ripped, I'm going to replace it, they're probably not going to be that hard on the other stuff.
Yeah.
So that's what I try to do there.
And that's awesome because that's a really good point. I've never heard of that theory, but that's a great theory. Whoever came up with that, but you're right. When you're in if you're in your friend's house, it doesn't have to be some huge big house. If you can see that they take care of it, that they keep their carpets clean, that they don't have marks all over the walls or whatever the case, like you don't even think twice when you walk in the door, hey, should I take my shoes off? Or you just take them off automatically. Versus you walk into someone's house that's just destroyed and trashed. Like you're not even thinking about it.
You don't want to take your shoes off.
Yeah. Yeah. You leave your pop on the counter. You don't even think about it when you leave to pick up your trash because you don't even know if there is a trash can. Like you're right. It's just a different atmosphere. And if you can create that, the people will take care of your gym.
Yeah, because I get people, it's always interesting. People ask me all the time, like, don't you have issues with no staff there at night and stuff? I'm like, no, like knock on wood, but like, no, I've never had anyone like any issues at all. Like, thankfully.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's like if you respect your gym to maintain it the right way, then everybody else respects it.
Sure.
You know?
Well, it's the office too, you know, and it's, you know, Greg, you obviously own a gunner business. Like, you paid for that with your hard-earned money in order to build that business. So I'm sure the guys that are working with you when you do have them, you know, they probably see you take a little extra time to put your stuff away. Like, you don't just drop your ladder off the side of the roof or whatever.
No, they still don't put stuff back right now. And I actually had a guy drop a 28 off the it slid and hit the ground, and now that 28's bent. But
Yeah.
you know what I mean? I don't care if you know what I mean. If somebody messes something up, it's mine, and I still take pride in my stuff, so I will replace that with something brand new. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because safety, you know, is definitely key.
Yeah, that's rough, man. Because when you have your own stuff involved in your own business and you're letting other people use your stuff, like, it's like, that is something I've always had a hard time with. I'm not a good sharer. When it was like, I am always worried about what somebody else is going to do to something that I spent my hard, because you know what, you're the one who worked for it, you invested in it or bought whatever you're buying, and like, you know, you try to like, there's definitely people you trust people with your stuff, and there's people you don't trust people with your stuff. Like,
for sure.
I've let Austin ride my dirt bike, but I wouldn't let him do it for a whole week.
So I just go the other way around. I refuse to take care of anything. So if someone ruins it, I'm like, well, I would have just done worse.
Is that why? That's why you have a $30,000, $12,000 motorcycle. Like, I've already replaced everything on the bike and made it better. KTM should just hire me, and I could have done this originally. Well, we talked about a lot of obviously tonight, you know, but one of the keys of guys' night is, you know, the idea of just a bunch of guys being around and being able to have these conversations that we're having. So I'm curious, is there stuff that you guys do where you guys get together with a group of guys and you go out and do whatever the case might be in order to just keep that camaraderie up? Because, I mean, we have all talked about, we've got family, we've got wives, kids, all that stuff in our daily lives. But I feel like it's almost frowned upon nowadays when, you know, you got a group of guys that are just out, well, let's just say it, just fucking off together, doing whatever it is. But is there some stuff that you guys try to do on a regular basis?
One of our mutual friends, Matt, I go out with him pretty much once a week, and we claim Thursdays. So
Thursdays is guys' night for you.
Thursdays are the day, and you know, it's like one of those things. Like, it's funny, like guys with wives or girlfriends, or whatever. Like, how do you get away with this? It's like, you have to be consistent. You know, like
no skip days.
No,
yeah,
you have to be consistent, and that's my day. That's when I go out. You know, you give it up once, and then all of a sudden the next week there's complaints going around. You know?
So you just, no matter what, like, you got to get through it. Like,
yeah.
Look,
even if you don't want to go out on Thursday, you still have to go just to make sure that next Thursday you're able to go out.
You guys are both sitting in your car in a parking lot, like two cops facing each other. Like, dude, I'm tired, bro. I'm tired. Why don't you take a nap? Yeah. But that's a good point. My buddy actually gave me that same advice. It was a little too late, but he's like, dude, you got to set the expectations from the get-go. Like, whatever it is, whether it's one day, you don't ask questions, you just do what you want to do. It's easier to ask for forgiveness than it is for permission. And, you know, once you set that boundary, then you're set. So, fair enough. So Thursday nights is your guy. What do you guys typically do on your Thursday nights? Are you guys just going out to the bars, or are you ripping one off? Are you tying one off to the point where the next day's a struggle, or?
Yeah, it depends on how that Thursday goes, I guess. But I mean, we talk about just whatever, you know.
Yeah.
Like, it's funny how you could, you know, you're in a bar, you know, you're hanging out drinking beers or whatever, but like 5 hours goes by fast.
Yeah.
You know, and you're just talking about life and kids and, you know.
Do you find yourself, is that conversation different than if your wife's around?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Not intentionally though, right?
No, but it's just, you know, your buddies, you don't have to like dance around emotions and stuff.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
you don't have to worry about whether or not I say this are they going to get upset? You almost say something purposely to try to make them upset, you know? Like, so like you don't have to worry about, you know, dancing around certain topics or whatever. So yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, I just was with Matt the other day and talking about my son, and like, dude's got an attitude all of a sudden, you know, like, I need to correct this, you know? And, so you're sitting there drinking beers, but you're also parenting, you know?
Yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, you never know what device is going to come up or what conversations. Yeah, I can imagine that. How old's your son?
11.
11. You should take him to the warehouse and leave him with Craig for a couple of days.
I'm
sure
I'll walk up to tuck him into bed, and he'll be doing 40 sit-ups and 40 push-ups and everything else. And now, like, we got a home gym and everything, and he can do the bar now.
Yeah.
But it's funny watching a kid who's never benched before ever, you know, and they're just trying to go real fast, and that bar's just flying all over the place. I was like, dude, just go slow and control it.
Yeah,
you know?
right.
Like, who cares how much weight you can do, you know?
Now he's at that age where you're gonna walk into him and he's all scrawny, sitting in the mirror flexing. Like I see those first few muscles now. Oh man, being at 11.
Oh, he's got a
12 years
six-pack. It's funny. Our one of our mutual friends, he's got a son that's like 9. And we were at the pool, and we'd be like, Chase has got the best sweet six-pack. Dylan, seriously, he did sit-ups all year long just so next summer he'd have the sweetest six-pack.
That's awesome. Craig, what about you, man? I know obviously you're in the gym, you're probably working a lot, but you got something that you kind of typically do on a regular basis, or?
Not really. No. The gym is my whole life. Like I just like being there. I mean, even when they made us close during COVID, I just left every day, went to the gym, and I was like, well, this is what I want to do.
Right.
But it pretty much, I met most of the best people in my life at the gym.
Yeah.
So I'm fortunate that I can see them pretty regular, and it's less now that I have more locations, but, I got the best job in the world, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's everything you wanted. How do you handle managing 4 locations? Because obviously you have a brand new one. That one probably gets a little extra love and attention for the most part.
Yeah.
But and do you live?
I live clear in Mansfield.
Mansfield. Okay,
Yeah.
so all your gyms are some distance away, other than the one you just opened.
Right. Yeah. I really try to hire the best staff that I can. I have been very lucky there. I've got great staff that they go above and beyond like what I would typically expect. But they do such a good job. I tell them, here's the job. I don't care if you sit down for 2 hours and have a conversation with somebody. If the job's done, that's cool.
Right.
And I think they respect that like, I never wanted to be a boss that walked in and everyone was like, stand at attention.
Right.
I wanted them to be like, oh, cool, Craig's here. And, I try to treat them as best I can. I try to treat them like I would want to be treated in their position. And I try to hire people that are better at things that I don't like to do.
Sure.
And as soon as I started doing that, my job got a lot better. Business got a lot more successful.
You got an example of that? I mean,
yeah. So there was a period of time when I owned 2 CrossFit gyms and 2 24-hour gyms. And, I was just grinding. I wanted to make as much money as I could to reinvest and do something, And so I was cleaning all 4 gyms myself for the most part. Like I had a little floor scrubber. I would load it in the back of my truck. The thing weighed a ton. But I would drive around, and I remember there was a period of time where my arms started to hurt from running the shop vac, just holding that hose and running around gyms.
Sure.
And so as soon as I hired somebody, and I didn't mind cleaning. It was like mowing your grass. You just kind of think, but as soon as I hired some people to take over that, then it just opened up all my time to do things that I was good at and things that I enjoyed. Because if you're not doing something you enjoy, you're not going to be very successful.
Yeah.
Like you're just not. And so I tell all the young guys at the gym, I'm like, I just had a conversation with a kid today. I was like, it doesn't matter what you do. Whatever it is you like to do, you need to go do that for a career.
Right.
Like you can figure it out. Like no one ever told me owning a gym would be a career ever.
Right.
But it was what I wanted to do, and I just inevitably ended up there. So I think, our society has kind of programmed you to take what you can get in a way with a boss.
Yeah.
And it's I think there's a lot of people out there, I see them all the time, that I'm like, why aren't you doing this? You're really skilled at something, but they just don't want to take that chance,
Well, and I think the other thing is too, and here's where, I challenge business owners, even general managers or operators. Everybody's so afraid of job security that they don't surround themselves with people that are awesome in a sense. And they're sure as hell not going to delegate things that they're bad at that the other person might be good at to that person in fear of how it'll make them look. And I think that's a general issue with businesses. So it's good to hear you say hey, I found out that there's, because you're right. If I know that I'm not good at this, why do I want to spend 8 hours trying to be good at it when I could find someone who's awesome at it? And hey, if we grow together, you could be doing awesome at this at 6 different places or 7 different places. and I could be doing this at 6 or 7 different places. And now you create a team. You know what I mean? And you also create opportunity for someone who might not have realized they were ever going to be good at something to find a niche in your team. And that's delegation is a huge micromanagement is to the nth degree. You know, I work for a company now that while I'm free as a consultant to kind of do what I wish and work with my clients, you know, they've because of a few bad apples or poor performers, they've decided to micromanage and over structure things for people that have been running their company and for years. And why? You know, all you've created is now I spend less time doing what I'm good at so that I can do things to make your job easier for the poor performers. And it really sets up an opportunity where you're like, well, what am I doing here then? I could do this for myself somewhere else.
Managing to the least common denominator.
Yeah. And I think that's a struggle a lot of businesses see. So it's good that you saw it early because, you know, that's something people struggle with into their long in business, and they wonder why they fail at so many of them, or why they don't have people around them that are any good. You know,
one of the things I've noticed is I've had employees where I hired them for, you know, assistant or whatever, you know, marketing assistant, whatever it is, and you realize after a while, like their skill set that doesn't match that position, but they do have a skill set. So let me put them in a position where they're going to be able to excel. And just being able to do that, you know, instead of saying, "Oh, they suck at this job," just be like, "Well, they're really good at this." You know, let me move them over to a different position. So
sure, yeah, that's always a big thing, right? Like it's like instead of terminating people before that, you try training them and then you try repurposing them, right?
Yeah.
Because there's something that you know, not everybody's a fit for what they thought they were a fit for based off of even their previous experience. All right, Austin, back to you. We're talking about things that you do with the guys. I think that you have a list you'd like to share with everybody on what they should be doing with their free time.
Yeah. No, I mean, hanging out with Travis, Matt, and I don't know, the older I get, the more I try and make it something other than just going to the bar.
Yeah.
My old boss, I still get up to his shop on Thursday nights sometimes as well, work on different projects that I can't handle myself. He's probably the best fabricator that I've ever seen my whole life. And there's guys in his retirement, he's kind of turned one of his spaces to guys bring in cars and they work on it. And, you know, when you need to actually have help from the guy that knows everything, he's right there.
Yeah.
But 90% of it, you're capable of doing yourself. But then, like, the riding trips that we do, you know, how do you get to keep doing them? Danielle throws me out of the house, like, be a miserable shit before you go, and then be like a loving family man when you get home.
Yeah.
And they'll just throw you out of it, like, get out of here, leave.
And those trips were fun. I mean, those are the first 2 times I went with you this last year. But, you know, you've got guys that are from every different aspect of life. Yeah. Like I'm sitting there from a guy who used to run like one of the largest companies for, you know, aftermarket exhaust in there. And then you're sitting there with a guy who's a doctor, you know, and you're all out riding dirt bikes and crashing and beating each other up. And then you're taking down cases of Corona in the evening and a bottle of whiskey while you're playing rummy with all these guys. And like, all the conversations you have are just not conversations you would have if I met somebody on a daily basis, even at my own job or whatever the case might be. So I think there's something to that, especially when you get into those larger groups.
Yeah. And I mean, you don't come across that often. Like, to find, like, further along in life you get, the bigger a group of guys that consistently hang out. It doesn't, like, the older you get, it's more, you know, 2 guys, maybe 3 guys, but to get a situation where you've got like 10 or 15 and people that like being around each other I just find it's harder and harder, and it's something worth trying to like prioritize to make happen.
Yeah, because you know, you think about that, like when you're 18 years old, 17 years old, you're all in high school, like everybody's out together, different. You got 10 groups of 10 guys that you hang out with, and you know, I went in the military, so there's like a clique that I had for 5 years while I was there, always doing stuff together, and even after we traveled back and forth when we were all out and stuff like that. But you're right. I mean, I'm 42 years old now. It's hard to find 10 guys that I actually want to hang out with all the time, let alone that want to do the same stuff that I do. You know, originally when we started talking about the idea of this podcast, I had 10 guys that were obsessed with the idea, you know, but they know it's every Sunday night, and like they've always got plans doing this or doing that. And it's now it's grown where it's like, okay, well, I know I've got one or two guys that are consistently here, David being one of them. And let's fill the table up with random guys, and let's have conversations about whatever, and see where that goes. And hopefully that develops relationships. Maybe sometime real estate comes up, or you have an opportunity to think there's a place to put a gym, and you've got a connection now. And Greg, hey, Craig, this is a spot that I want to spot. Or you're buying real estate and you need gutters. Like maybe Greg's a guy that you could reach out to do that. Or Greg's starting his business, gets a couple of people underneath him down the road and a couple of crews, and he's talking about doing 401ks or investment or profit sharing for his. And so the idea of this is kind of to where we can grow that for guys to have that area of where they're always picking up information, meeting new people, and having those conversations that they might not get to normally have in a regular day. Because I know a lot of guys that they might think they're happy, or maybe they are really happy, but they wake up every morning, they do the exact same thing. They go home and they start the next day over the exact same way. And then a little part of you dies as you get older, and that happens. And then one day, I think for me, it was this year where I woke up and I was like 42 years old, like pretty much halfway through the good part of life. Like, I mean, even if I make it to 84, like what part of me, and where am I going to be at 84 years? I mean, we all just saw Mike Tyson at 58, right? I mean, dude is a beast. He's legit awesome. But let's face it, like in the ring, he's not 28-year-old Mike Tyson anymore. So it's like, as life goes on, you really start to think about that. Like, I need to be doing some of these things I missed out on, maybe because I was working all the time in my 30s trying to grow what I was doing, or whatever the case might be. Greg, what about you, man?
Yeah, I got work and family.
Yeah.
I go golfing. Like I'm not, I can't go to the bar like a normal person because I'll, end up in jail. I guarantee it. But, that kind of makes it difficult meeting people. You know what I mean? But, I don't know. We go on golf trips. Like winter's coming now. We're going to do indoor golf, but I mean, I don't like that shit. It's not real enough. But, yeah, I don't know.
Well, you still sponsor a bunch of guys, right?
Yeah.
Mostly guys?
All guys.
All guys?
Yeah, I ain't sponsoring a woman. They got too many emotions. I mean, most of these guys got too many damn emotions too. But, I don't know. I talk to a lot of people in the program I'm in. And, it's talking shit to people that's like a gift God gave me, busting people's balls, and I'm very quick-witted, and if they have something to say, it's like I already know what I'm gonna say before, you know what I mean? I definitely love being around other like-minded guys that aren't candy asses and get butthurt over a little shit talking, you know what I mean? There's definitely a lot of benefit to that, because if I was stuck with my wife all day and all night, every day, all week, I don't know. I don't think I would still be alive today, because she would murder me.
Luckily, you could buy her books.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Shout out to Tiffany. She is
Tiffany Talk.
I didn't even know this was a thing, but apparently people love to watch other people read books and talk about books on social media. And within like a week, I swear, like she went from like a random post here and there to like, I can't open up social media without seeing her talking about. Actually, I don't even. She talks about books. She just shows off the book space that you built. For
no,
her.
she talks about books, and I just don't listen to them because they are books that I am never going to read. There's a whole community, and she gives her views on it, and she's starting to master the craft. She has a online book club that I went upstairs today before the Browns game, and she's sitting there reading with her Kindle in front of her open with all these other quote unquote nerds reading with her. You know what I mean? It's whatever. It makes her happy, dude. I don't know. It's not something I would do, but you know what I mean? To each their own. And, she loves it. She's always loved to read. And, yeah, I don't know. It's definitely, I'm happy she has something that makes her happy, but I got to hear about all these damn books that I'm never going to read. And I can't be mean and look at her and say, I don't give a shit. You know what I mean? Because that would hurt her feelings. So
sure. Yeah.
I appease her and just look at her blankly, I think. And buy her all the books. I mean, not every book, but I definitely support the habit.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. There's always books available, right? Always
Yeah,
new
I
books
mean, the
coming
good news
out.
is somebody's always
It's
writing
like
a
20,
book.
25 bucks, you know? You always got a gift ready.
Well, that's the biggest one. He's like, yeah, I've already spent quite a bit on Christmas for. I was like, dude, you can literally lock up like the next 8 years right now. Like you just go to a library that's closing down or something. Like, people don't even go to those things. Like take Craig's advice, dude. Go to a bookstore that's closing down and just buy everything they got. Then you go find a storage locker and then you just randomly go pick one out. Whenever she's mad at you, hey, I brought you this.
There's a whole thing too where I spent. She loved Harry Potter. I knew she loved Harry Potter, and I bought her this. It was like $250 like set of Harry Potter books. They're really nice. They came in like a trunk, and the amount of frustration that I had to show when she told me they weren't for reading. I did not understand. Still can't.
They're like collectors.
Yeah, I don't know. She said there's pretty books that you don't read, and then there's softback books that you can read. So no hardback book does she read.
Yeah,
Really?
I just saw that the other day. So softback books are for reading.
Yeah.
Hardback books are for looking good on your bookcase.
Just to show
I can't
somebody
read
I
any
read.
books.
What kind of investment is that? Hardback books. You know what I mean? Like I don't get it.
If you ever been to a garage sale, you can usually buy those for like 10 cents. Like,
Yeah,
there's
but they've
like, and
been
there's
read.
like those have
I'm
been
sure,
read.
and
Well,
they have
maybe
wrinkles
not.
in the spine, or so. I don't understand.
That's funny.
I don't
I talked about Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I read that book and everything. I've never actually read a book from front to back. Never read the entire book. Like I'll read a book and I'll get through 3 chapters, and something will spark my like, oh, that's awesome.
So you never know-
I'm done with it, and I'm on to whatever that.
So hey, they're like, this is a great idea. You should do this. And then in chapter 7, which you never get to, they're like,
Yeah.
it backfired. Do not do this.
Yeah,
It's
or
like-
there was a way better idea in chapter 7, and I didn't see it because I got inspired by chapter 3.
Oh yeah, I mean it's funny because up until last, I don't know, 2 years ago, book reading I just didn't do. I can't sit down under a light or whatever and read a book. I got obsessed with Audible though. Like once Audible, like you can find any book that you want on there. Then you find like 2 or 3 good books, and like it's funny because I used to be in the gym and all I would have is like rock playing in my ears or rap music. Now I have like Audible reading me a book, and I'll be like bench pressing while somebody's describing like what they did to like start their YouTube channel or what this guy did when he was in Iraq. And it's like, especially over the last probably 6 months, my political book history has been ridiculous. Like the fact that I got into all these books to learn about politics, which I'll never take part in other than voting and talking shit about it. But I'm very educated in the process of politics in general now. So I'll take that useless knowledge to the grave with me, I guess. But
Audiobooks are awesome. Have you ever had an audiobook where you love the idea of the book, you love the topic, and the voice, you're just like, I can't listen to this.
yeah, all the time.
That's just what I was going to say. Like, you have gym music, like all the books, but just Macho Man Randy Savage reading music.
That I might listen to, honestly. I love books. Like, books are definitely, something. There's something to reading a book rather than watching a movie. Like, I'd rather read the book because you're coming up with everything in your brain, and it's almost like exercising your brain. I like when I broke my wrist, I was out of work. Obviously, I read all the Hunger Games. That's something I never. My wife showed me the book and said, read this. So I did it, but I enjoyed those books. You know what I mean? And, I'm reading Harry Potter now, and something sparked my interest, and the book's sitting on my table. I haven't opened it in a month. You know what I mean? So, but I mean, I'm going to have nothing but time here soon because, you can't do gutters. I won't do gutters when there's 5 inches of snow on the ground, especially after falling off a roof. I'm not going to chance that. So I will finish reading those books and, make my wife happy. But,
Dude, credit to getting on a roof for a living. Let me tell you, my
Dude,
dad
it's-
did it for years and years and years. And he wasn't a roofer. He did remodeling, but he would do a roof job if it
Yeah.
came across, right? But so for the last, I don't know, I've lived here for 12, 13 years. I've always put my own Christmas lights up, and I never got to like the top points.
I'll just say they look amazing out
So
there.
hold on. So this
absolutely.
year I was like, you know what? I'm making the investment. I'm done. I'm looking at this as a life-saving investment. I went and bought or rented this 65-foot boom truck. Now, first of all, last year I did it for the first time where I did my peaks with regular lights where you like clip them on the whatever you call it, the shingles. The shingles.
The clips stay up there all year. And you
Oh
just-
yeah, But the next year they're no good because they've been out in the
yeah.
weather. They just snap
Dry
as soon
rot,
as you
yeah.
touch them. So So anyhow, so I rented a little tow behind last year. It was like a 35-foot boom truck, but it wouldn't extend to the top of my peaks or whatever. And I was like, fuck, I don't want to do that again because this year I'm gonna go all out. I'm gonna get those Govee permanent pro lights or whatever, where you stick them up. They're guaranteed 50,000 hours. These will be here for as long as I am, right? So I was like, how am I going to put these up? I don't want to get that shitty Home Depot truck. So I called Home Depot. I was like, do you guys have a bigger one? They're like, yeah, it's 50, but it's still like the tow behind. Now, let me tell you something. 35 feet on one of those tow behind ones, even with the outriggers out, when the wind's blowing like 10 to 15 miles an hour.
Still sway.
Well, you move it, and even though when you stop moving it, it doesn't just slowly come to a stop. It like jerks. Then you're up there at the top, like waving back and forth in this thing. I'm gonna die. So this year I was like, fuck it, I'm going big. I called ABC Rentals out of Brunswick, and the guy was awesome down there, by the way. And I was like, dude, you guys got a 65-foot boom truck? It's like an actual truck. He's like, yeah, heavy duty. He's like, we'll drop it off. We'll deliver it to you. I was like, fuck it, let's do this. So he drops it off when I'm not home. I have no idea what to expect. I'm pulling down my road, and my road's like not quite 2 lanes. It's like a development road with the cinder. You guys all came down it or whatever. I can't even get around it in the road. This thing is so fucking big. Like literally I had to drive in my neighbor's grass because they didn't want to park it in my grass. So they parked it on the road, and I had to drive into my neighbor's grass to get around it. This thing had been sitting there for like 4 hours. I'm like, God, I bet all my neighbors hate me right now. Then I'm like, all right, I'm going to get this thing fucking started. I drive it into the front lawn, and like as soon as I do, it's like sinks like 4 inches down. Now I got tire tracks all over the place, but it makes it all better because you're like, they look good. Like, and they're all up every single crevice and is covered with fucking lights in this house, and I'm never doing it again. Plus, now I get to know my neighbors year round. Like, I'm going to make them ridiculous colors all times, keep them all the time. So it'd be a good time. But yeah, like doing that, I did it in November. And this is funny because the day that I did it, my wife's like, 5 years ago, look at this. And it was like a blizzard. We had a blizzard 5 years ago. It was like 7-8 inches of snow we had overnight or something. And I was like, yeah, fuck that. I would if it started snowing right now, they would never get done. Like, I'm not doing Christmas lights in the snow. So for you to do roofs, man, I could not imagine doing that with even
did a ranch, no problem. I get on there.
Yeah.
I would always get up and like I want to at least make the roofers think that I'm like know what I'm doing. By when I was like 22 years old, I'd be like get up there and walk around. I got up on a slate roof, a double, like a 2-story roof. I'm like shitting my pants up there. Like, I don't like being on a 12-foot ladder. Like,
yeah, you definitely have to. It's almost stupid how much you cannot think about the danger of it. That's the only way I can do it is get up there and just do what needs to be done. I'm like when I first came back from my fall, every roof I got up on, I looked down. I'm like, I wonder what it would be like to fall off this roof. You know what I mean? Like it was.
That's all I'm thinking about when I'm on a roof is I could probably die right now.
You can. You just got to stop thinking. That's what I had to do. I just had to stop thinking. You know what I mean? And that's. My wife hates that I tell her that, you know what I mean? But you just
it's more dangerous to be up there and be scared than it is to be up there and be confident.
Absolutely.
Well, it's crazy now too because I think it was 2 years ago I had my siding done, and like to do the siding like on the top portion of the second story of the house, like he had 2x4 blocks nailed into like my porch roof to hold his ladder up against the top floor to do the siding, and I'm like, dude, there's got to be a better way. And then he's like, yeah, a fucking 80-foot ladder that would extend out from your grass all the way over your, whatever. Yeah. And he's like, and at that point, like, it's at such an angle, it's going to fall. Like, it's not even worth it. And then I started thinking, I was like, my roof has got some crazy fucking peaks on it. I was like, the idiots that designed this fucking house.
Yeah, I hate
what
architects.
The fuck were they thinking? Because I can only imagine what they're going to charge me when I eventually have to do the roof on this house because I wouldn't want to fucking stand up there. Like, I can't even stand on the second floor. Like, I start sliding down. Like, the one day I walked out on the window, and it's only like, I don't know whatever degree pitch on my porch. That was fine. But when I went to the next part, like, I couldn't even stand on it without sliding down. I was like, how the fuck somebody going to roof this fucking
Cougar
place?
paws.
Yeah,
it looks cool,
or
though.
Cleat it all.
Yeah.
It's the in-between. Like, when it's real steep, you have to cleat it. When it's shallow, you can walk where... It's like the in-between, I don't remember what the pitch is, with old shingles where the gravel is always starting to roll away under your feet. And like every step you take, you got to walk like at an angle because you're side slipping the whole time.
Oh, fuck that, man.
And that's where the old the couch cushion with the like stuff ripped off, so it's just the foam.
Yeah.
It's like Velcro up there. That's the only thing I'll say. Yeah.
They have a pitch hopper now that I still don't completely trust, but I see roofers, on 1212s.
Yeah.
And just stuck on it. I'm like, dude, no. Because I got to go to the gutter line. I'm not
Yeah, you don't
in
have
the
to go on
middle of
that
the
peak
roof.
necessarily.
I'm right on the bottom of the gutter. I don't care what it is. You know what I mean? And I feel most comfortable on a steep roof. I'm on a ladder doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Fuck that. not for me, man. You know what? That's why you get to charge what you should be able to charge.
Yeah.
And if you do a quality job, like I don't even like going up there and cleaning the leaves out of my gutters. You know what I mean? Like
I sell screens too.
Yeah. Let me tell you something. When 1 foot of my gutter falls down and I have to tell the insurance company that a crazy hailstorm happened that took down 40 feet of it, you're going to be the guy I call.
All new gutters because they won't match. You know.
Yeah, of course not, dude. So all right, well, what's next for all you guys? Craig, you've got 4 gyms open and running now. You said you're you're helping somebody else. Kind of, is that something that you see as a vision for yourself? Is kind of doing some consulting work for other gyms, or do you want to own more? Or
No, I don't have any plans to open any more gyms. I just want to try to improve the ones I have. That'll be my goal.
Okay.
There's so many things that I can be doing to improve them.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, it was funny you asked me to come on your podcast because I've always wanted to have my own podcast, but do a gym member of the week, and have
Definitely.
gym members come and talk to them. And I've got some people. I have a space in Ontario that I offered up for free rent for anyone that comes in and will do a podcast for me. They can do whatever else they want with the space, do their own podcast. And so I've got some guys that are wanting to do that. So I guess that's going to be my next venture is just to be able to have a place where, any gym member can come and be on a podcast, because not everybody's going to be asked to be on a podcast, And so that's what I want to provide, a place where like anybody, we can talk to you,
Yeah, and I think one of the ideas was the idea that you could just you have all these conversations with people on a daily basis, like everything that we've talked about tonight. We've all talked about on a daily basis, but for most people, they don't want they're just sitting, they're not having that conversation, or they don't know where to go to have it, or they don't know who to talk to. So I think just having a place where people can just sit and talk, regardless of what it's regardless of what you open that studio up to, whether it's guys that you want to like talk about routines, or they want to talk about the kind of PEDs that they've been involved with, or the processes that they've had to be involved in the gym. I think those are conversations that, without searching YouTube and finding exactly what YouTube wants to tell you, like if you've got a guy that you can go to and like you're going to have an interesting conversation regardless of what the topic is or whatever, it's definitely something that it'll bring more people to your family, right? To that culture that you're creating over there, and that's awesome, man. That community.
I've just learned that no matter who the person is, they always have something they can teach you.
Yes.
And so I just think that might be cool to kind of try to extract that and see what what people are all about. That they we do like a member of the week thing where
I've seen that.
Post
yeah.
a picture and then some questions, which is fine. But I thought, let's give people a half an hour and just talk, and let's hear your story about why you're at the gym and what made, like, what do you do? What are you about? And I think it'll be cool.
Yeah, I think it'll be really cool. I think too, like, once again, it goes back to people relating to that. Like, you get a guy like Austin who tries to think about working out, but maybe, he sees somebody that has this story like, dude, I did the same thing. And then one day I woke up and, the doctor told me I had to have my heart monitored for a week and I could change my life, or whatever the case might be, So yeah, that's awesome, man. Good to hear that.
Austin just bought a shitload of Rogue equipment. It's probably going to be for sale in about.
I have a buddy that I've bought his Rogue home gym from him twice, and he sold the third one recently, but I did not purchase it. So we just have a running joke with that.
That's hilarious. Travis, what about you, man? What's next for you?
So I'm real focused on growing the brokerage. I'm still doing the investing part, still flipping properties and everything. But
now, are you currently looking for people too?
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, shares. What's the name of the company?
Local Real Estate, LOKAL. We do a lot of most big box brokerages don't really want to train new people. I kind of like training new people because they haven't learned any bad habits or anything. So you can kind of just like start them off. You know, if you can see a spark in somebody and somebody's got motivation, like that's really what you need.
Yeah.
You need a self-motivated person. But I really need to, I'm growing that to 100 agents. And once I get to 100 agents, the numbers look real well to open up franchises. So then I'll be looking to go into other markets and everything. So
That's pretty awesome. What about you, Austin? What's the future for Austin Mims look like?
So the biggest thing that I'm trying to do in my business is build efficiencies. There's more and more people. The baby boom generation, it's like some absurd number, like 10,000 turn 65 every day, and it's going to be that same pace for like the next 14 years. So the people that need like primary retirement advice, because a lot of people get to the finish line like, oh shit, I have no idea how to be retired.
Yeah.
But the average age of a financial advisor goes up by roughly 1 every year. There's no new blood coming into the business. So there's going to be a natural funneling where there's going to be fewer and fewer advisors and more people that want to help. So to be able to help 400 households comfortably, how do I offer the same level of service to 800? Because, I mean, as a businessman, you shouldn't turn that away at some point in time. But I don't want to have to cut back on the quality in order to offer more service.
So let me ask you about that. As we're sitting around a table right now, obviously, I mean, we could be sitting around as many as people as we wanted to right now. Is it possible that you're able to, for instance, like no joke, I already said it earlier. My wife's an investor with you. Like, is there have you ever thought of doing like new investor workshops where like all your people that are like under 3 years, like you do, even if it's virtual, have an opportunity for them to meet, ask questions, to where 30 minutes of your time would really save you 25, 30 hours of your time? Or is there, yeah.
No, and when I first started out, I did kind of workshops, so it was all in person. Mm-hmm. And no, I'd never thought about doing it virtually because it's trying to get people together physically in one. I mean, all the work that you did just to get us here tonight. But yeah, that. But it's the other thing that I think will be important is there's a lot of busy work to the job right now.
Yeah.
That truthfully I think will be, AI will come in and start to replace that. I don't think it's ever going to be able to completely, until a robot can deal with human emotions, which I don't think that's coming in my lifetime.
Good luck with that.
But I don't have to do all the busy work, and truthfully, it can be done more effectively and competently because there is no human error anymore. That's something that would be, so I can have more time to be face-to-face with people.
Sure.
Because, that's what I love to do. That's the most valuable thing I do. I can do a pretty good job of picking investments, but it's the more time I'm able to spend face-to-face or face to multiple faces, that's where I'm my most valuable.
Yeah, and I don't know how it works as far as, I know there's like limits to what you're probably able to do and stuff like that with your organization, but I can tell you that as a client, like if I got a video once a month that was just like a 30-minute review of what's going on in the market, mm-hmm. what to look for, what to do, or even if it was just Austin's advice or whatever the heck you came out with it, I think that would generally help you grow and handle more people, because realistically, in any business, when people call and have questions, it's usually a simple question that you could answer preemptively if you knew it was coming, and have something there for it. And I mean that in the sense of most of your people that are calling and having questions, especially if it's during a downturn or something of that nature, they could get that information and be done with it and move on, and it wouldn't be that big of a deal, and they'd probably save you a ton of time. But interested to see how AI takes it, because AI is definitely, it's a tool.
Yeah.
AI is not going to take my idea in my head, build it out, buy the lumber, build the house, etc. But I can tell you, one of the big parts of me actually taking to this podcast and getting as many people involved and being able to have different camera angles is the fact that up until about 6 months ago or a year ago, it would take me 4 to 6 hours maybe 3 hours to edit this if I was a professional that did it on a day-to-day basis. Whereas I can have all this edited and cut in like 25 minutes, and that's only because I haven't stepped up and bought the next MacBook with a faster processor, because the AI is smart enough to do that. So I'm sure, like, especially in the investment market, there's going to be some stuff that starts to come out, and once you don't have to double check it and do the work anyway,
Right.
That'll be a huge asset.
Well, and it doesn't even have to be in the investment side. It's just the purely like administrative side of things.
Yeah.
You know, the simple, you know, looking at, okay, here's the notes. Here's what this person, you've never talked about to this person before. Now I know the next time I talk, it's not, okay, let's try and figure out what the thing is. It's, here's the bullet point of, here's an issue that's never been discussed.
Yeah.
Or big data, looking at all the clients at this age, this is when this client normally looks at this type of investment. Here's the 10 people you need to talk to that you haven't been in that position.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet.
Like, I can crunch all those numbers with an Excel spreadsheet and take a day doing it, but at some point in the future, like what you're saying, it'll take 5 minutes.
Yeah, and you'll have your list, and you'll move on, and you'll be done with that project and on to the next.
Right.
That you'll be able to process it. I mean, it cuts down that time of that busy work, and that's really what AI is doing. I'm actually trying to hopefully have somebody on that's does AI development for an engineering company, because I'm interested to see, you know, what is that going to do for. I mean, I don't think AI is going to be up there laying gutters, but you know, there's definitely jobs out there that are going to be struggling once AI starts to become more of a day-to-day basis, being able to do different things. Because eventually, you know, just an example, eventually you're going to have cameras that are going to be able to tell you when somebody enters the gym. They're not going to have to scan, and you're going to be able to. You're not going to need anybody there to see if something happened in the gym or anything to notify
We're
you.
already at that point.
Yeah.
With this new software.
Facial
Really?
recognition, or
Well, I mean, to have a membership there, you can do it all on your phone, sign the waiver, get your membership, and then your phone is your access key to get in. It
Right.
Bluetooth to the gym. So technically, if you want to give your phone to somebody else, you
Yeah.
can get in the gym, but otherwise, like, who's going to do that?
Right. Well, the next phase, though, will be like, you know, you're going to be able to get alerts on your camera that says, hey, this guy's acting a certain way in the gym, or this guy's throwing stuff, or, you know, and you're going to, you know, not that you would ever do it, but that takes that guy that's running a 24-hour gym that has somebody there 8 to 10 hours a day and says, well, I really don't need anybody here during the day, you know, so, you know, what's that level going to look like? So I'm interested to see, but yeah, it's crazy what AI has already done just over the last year. Like, I feel like it took off out of nowhere.
But we've had that like evolution, like steam shovels, you know, all of a sudden overnight ditch diggers didn't have a job anymore.
Yeah.
And, you know, are we any worse for it? Like, it'll change things, but I mean, it's the same old saying. You got to be prepared for it. It's always going to happen. It's inevitability.
Plumber, electrician, roofer, gutters. Like, good news is AI ain't doing the labor or the trade jobs out there. That's a fact, you know.
Right.
Greg, what about you, man? What's on your plate? What are your visions you got for yourself in the
Just
company?
looking to grow. Trying to learn more about the advertising aspect, learning the algorithms, and you know, just trying to tighten things up, become more efficient, not fall off any more roofs. I don't know. Finding employees is it's a struggle. Finding worthwhile employees is a struggle. But other than that, just trying to do better next year than I did this year.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I imagine finding guys in that trade is tough.
Yeah.
You know, salesmen are tough to find always. Well, people in general, it's just nobody wants to stick in the same place anymore. How often is it that you come across people that have been at a job for 5, 10, 15, 20 years? But you know, hopefully that takes off for you. And you know, I think I mean, once people get to know you and find out what kind of work that you do and stuff like that's going to take care of that on its own.
I hope so.
Finding people is just going to be offering somebody an opportunity, you know, maybe partner up with trade schools or something like that to get somebody started that's, you know, not having that opportunity as it is right now. But
Yeah, absolutely.
David, you've been pretty quiet down there at the end, brother. Do you got anything to add to the end of the evening?
Oh, I've been napping for the last hour and a half. Didn't hear anything. No, it's all interesting stuff. Great stories.
So, well, hey guys, anybody else got anything else they want to add? Anything else they want to shout out to before we take off? Social media posts, anything like that you want to put out there?
pitchperfectguttersllc.com.
Yeah. Travis, where can people go find if they want to get into real estate? And you're the man they want to talk to.
Local Trav is my Instagram handle. Localtrav.com is my website.
And that's local Lokal,
yeah.
right? Yep. Craig, Jim.
No, just the warehouse gyms.
The warehouse gym.
Warehouse gym, Ontario, Ashland, Worcester, and Medina.
Awesome, man. Well, hey, guys, thank you all for taking time out of your busy schedules to be here this evening. And look forward to seeing where things go for you guys all and maybe having you guys back for something else in the future.
Thank you.
All right.
you.
Good night, everybody.